15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, it's finally happened. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Glad to be with you. I was about a year late on my prediction about Davante Adams asking for a trade. I said it was going to be last year at this time, but this is not about me. This is now about the Raiders and every other team in the NFL who's probably furiously huddling with their cap guy and with their GMs and wondering how the heck do we get Davante Adams on our team? If you're just getting up to speed with the latest, it's been a little dicey between him and the Raiders, Pearl, and now reportedly he's asked for a trade.
Oh, that cap guy. That cap guy runs the entire league.
Get him out of bed.
Yeah, I think that the same conversation, you're right, is happening everywhere. So the cap guy's like, we can't afford him. And the GM's like, I want him. And the coach is calling saying, like, I want him too.
And then the owner calls and is like, get me that guy.
I'll tell you one thing. As a fan, as an Eagles fan, like, of course we want Davante Adams, but my heart wants him. My brain knows that this trade for a plus 30-year-old receiver for a second-round pick, that never works out. Like the DeAndre Hopkins trade, let's call it. It never really pays out because older receivers are injury-prone. It's going to take them a while to adjust. But I've seen Davante Adams play, and if I'm 31 other teams, I want that dude.
Let's go to the sound, shall we? If you're wondering what we're talking about. So the apparent, what appears to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and we'll get into all the things that led to what could be an impending divorce between one of the great receivers of this generation. Let's call it what it is, Pearl. I know he's getting older, but Davante Adams is a difference maker when he actually has a good quarterback, when he actually has a decent team around him. And he was very open on that receiver Netflix documentary about how much punishment and abuse he was taking, like on the field, because his quarterbacks were sort of leaving him in bad situations and kind of not being able to protect him as he's trying to make these catches. So we're all wondering what's going to happen with Davante Adams. Then we get Antonio Pierce calling out players for making business decisions during a loss. Now, we didn't think he was talking about Davante Adams, but then the very next day, there's an Instagram post of a Sports Illustrated, I don't even think it was a report. I think it was just an opinion about has Davante Adams played his last snap as a Raider, and Antonio Pierce personally appeared to like that Instagram post. So the head coach is liking an Instagram post that's asking if his star player has played his last game and last snap as a member of their team. So Kay Adams asked him, like, what's going on with that?
I haven't heard from him. I haven't talked to him. So I haven't, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what that was about. Obviously, I got, social media is a beast. So it's a lot of people out there that saw it and, wondering what's going on and people reaching out. And I haven't spoke to him.
All right, haven't spoke to him. What are you busy doing? More from Davante Adams. He said the situation with his head coach is difficult to process.
Honestly, it's hard to comment on. And I'm sure you would imagine as such, but it's one of those situations where I just keep my head down and keep doing my thing and let the chips fall where they may as it pertains to that. But I haven't. There's been no communication with anybody from the team since that became a thing.
Okay, Pearl, but before we get into where Davante Adams should play next, what do you think's going on here?
Well, I mean, listen, Vince Lombardi and Bill Walsh never liked any of their star players' trade requests. So this is, I'm just kidding, obviously.
But is Antonio Pierce one of those guys?
Let's just start with it's insane if Antonio Pierce intentionally liked this post. Like, what is going on there? I don't understand the Antonio Pierce thing. It makes him seem like a really erratic head coach. I think Davante Adams, I think your instinct was dead on a year ago. He's tired of losing. He's getting older. He wants to win. And I think he looks around Las Vegas and says, this team is this team is a rebuild team. They're not ready to win right now. We don't really have a quarterback. So I think it's not more complex than that. It's kind of simple, right? It's everything that you've always said about Davante Adams is he's a great player. He's getting to the end of his NFL career. This is not the spot to win. Now, I just think that when you start with that fact, all the rest is sort of details.
Right.
Like he's finding an excuse. You know what I mean? Like he wants a reason to get out of Vegas. And I think that he's jumping on this opportunity, Antonio Pierce liking this Instagram post, as an excuse to get out of there because he wants to win football games.
Okay, I think that's a good theory. Can I also present an alternate theory?
Please.
Which is Davante Adams was very open and has been open every time he's been asked about this. And the dude's actually pretty accessible in the media. He's always said, I don't want to be the guy who's chasing something, right? He left Green Bay, gets traded to go to Las Vegas, but that was a unique circumstance. He said he didn't know whether Aaron Rodgers was going to retire. Jordan Love was not the Jordan Love we see today, and he wanted to play with his college quarterback, and none of us questioned that at the time. It's like, all right, he does have a connection with Derek Carr, and he does want to leave Green Bay. That's not a crime. And so, but after that, he's like, I don't want to be the guy who's constantly moving from team to team to team. You're wondering, did Antonio Pierce like this on purpose? Like, Davante Adams could have asked for a trade 100 different times before this, right? But they needed a tipping point. They needed something, an inciting action, if you will, if you're a screenplay type of person. You need something to cause him to say, finally, I do want to trade, because I don't think he was asking for one. Because why wouldn't he have asked for it last year when the team was also bad?
Wait, so let me get this straight. You're saying Antonio Pierce intentionally liked that post to instigate Davante Adams to publicly ask for a trade?
I'm just wondering if that's what happened, because why now? Davante Adams has sat here with this Raider team. He could have asked for a trade in the offseason when you really would have had 31 teams at your beck and call, when you really could have gotten some, trade capital for the draft or something like that. It's an odd time. Still have a month before the trade deadline. The odds are he's going to be suiting up for the Raiders this weekend. This is messy. This is awkward. This is as much tension as possible. And to me, that's something Davante Adams has avoided this whole time. He has not been the guy who's won. Okay, the receiver thing.
The receiver documentary, he kind of put it all out there.
But he's actually not the executive producer of that. He may have been able to say, I don't want this and I don't want that in, or maybe not.
But he seemed pretty purposeful when he was saying those things about the Raiders. He kind of, he's obviously, I think he has intention behind it. But wait, just to backtrack, what's Antonio Pierce's role? I don't understand in your theory. I think Davante was wanting out. He's looking for any excuse. Why did Pierce like the thing? You're saying to start this fire?
Well, here's the thing. I can't imagine that Antonio Pierce would, as the head coach, liking this Instagram post, as you said, what is the motivation behind that?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
It seems beyond stupid, especially because, and let's remember what the reports were when Antonio Pierce was on the verge of getting the head coaching job, going from interim to head coach. Davante Adams was one of his biggest supporters. I think Antonio Pierce has the job because Davante Adams was the one who I believe went to the mat for him. Max Crosby too. So why would all of a sudden Davante Adams has said, all right, I want this guy as my head coach. Why would the head coach go and alienate this person? It just doesn't make any sense from a sports angle,
right,
from a business angle, from just saving your own behind angle. None of it.
I think Antonio Pierce accidentally liked that post because we've all done it. We've all done it.
I've thought of that.
That's my best. I'm pretty confident in this.
Antonio Pierce, big time linebacker in the NFL. His fingers are probably mangled. I've never met the guy.
Just think about, picture him in your head. He's probably got huge fingers.
Oh, I bet when your hands, football players' hands, if you ever meet a football player, their hands are just gnarly. They just take so much abuse. Anyway, I thought about that. Maybe accidentally like the post and maybe has no idea. Like when men accidentally like posts of women in yoga pants and then claim that they never did.
It was totally an accident. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. I'm not looking at you, Pearl, or you, EJ, or you, Nico. No one in this room. I'm just saying. Why wouldn't you then clear the air right away? See, Davante Adams on K Adams yesterday or Monday, whatever it was, said, I haven't heard from the team. If I accidentally liked a post asking if Andrew Perloff has hosted his last day on Infinity Sports Network, I'd be like, hey, dude, my bad. That was total accidental. I would reach out immediately.
Or you would hit the heart again, so it would take the unlike. But but I don't think a head coach and a random wide receiver talk every day. Like, I don't think it's totally normal for a head coach to call his players in the season.
Okay, but when you do something like
like a post.
or accidentally like or whatever a post, then maybe that's a reason. You don't have to call. This is in 2024. Who calls anybody? Text message. Hey, sorry, accidental like. Sorry for the firestorm. We're gonna get through it. You're my guy.
I just can't imagine it was purposeful by Antonio Pierce. Like, can you imagine his mindset? Like, if you really want to trade Davante Adams, do it behind the scenes to like a post on purpose. It's out of control.
It is, but it's the Raiders, guys. It's the Raiders. They're kind of that organization where you kind of believe anything about the Raiders, would you not?
Yeah. Well, I do, because I'm seeing it play out right now. None of this makes sense.
If you have a better theory, I'll take it. But we're talking about Davante Adams has asked for a trade reportedly from the Las Vegas Raiders, and the straw that broke the camel's back was Antonio Pierce liking an Instagram post. How 2024 is this story? That he may have played his last snap as a Raider. I can't come up with anything else that makes sense besides they wanted Davante Adams to finally hit a breaking point. And and I'm sure things behind the scenes have been slowly deteriorating, obviously, but they wanted him to hit a breaking point. And it's easier to justify the fan base. It's easier to do everything if the player looks like the bad guy, if the player looks like they're the ones deserting. And I've always said this about Davante Adams. He's on a Hall of Fame track. You can't be farting around with Gardner Minshew in these terrible seasons. And no offense to Minshew, it's not his fault. He's the starting quarterback. It's just he's not Aaron Rodgers. And so, and he's not going to keep, and Adams still had a good year last year, but
Minshew throws a catchable football. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
get some air to the ball.
You're behind in a lot of games. Maybe
you're right. This it doesn't match where he is in his career and the team. Pierce, by the way, I think talks today at 11 a.m. local time. There's going to be 500 questions. I can't wait to see how he answers this. Because even if he did it on purpose, he can't admit that, can he?
Did you see yesterday? He was this 2 days ago? He's talking about Max Crosby and Davante Adams, and he's talking about Max Crosby only refers to Davante Adams as 1-7. Although I think Davante does that too, his jersey number. And he's like pulling at his collar, not to be like armchair psychologist, but he's like pulling at his collar. He's like, 1-7. I swear, David Letterman did this as a bit where he would pull the collar like away from his neck, like, that was like a thing. It's uncomfortable to watch.
Wow. So, yeah. Actually, to credit myself, when I saw hamstring pull on the last play of practice, I told you guys that was a lie.
You did.
So, obviously, Davante Adams wants out. Regardless of Antonio Pierce's motivation, Davante Adams jumped all over this. I guess he does a regular with Kay Adams, so he clearly orchestrated this. He's like, here's my chance. Here's the wedge between me and the team.
He didn't orchestrate it. I think he's seizing on it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Once it happened, the wheels got in motion, I'm going to get out of here. So that's where we are now. Obviously, he can't go back, even if nobody offers anything.
Does he play this weekend?
Oh, God. I don't think so. I don't think you can play him. I think you fake a hamstring injury.
Okay, so now you're going to keep him out, and also to protect the asset.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Right.
Well, you don't want him getting actually hurt.
We've seen the Raiders quarterbacks putting him in harm's way. Yeah, he's a second-round pick running around out there. You can't do that.
In Denver, that's where you'll find the Raiders this weekend. So, division game.
You need about 13 points to win that game. You don't need Davante Adams.
It depends. Is it raining? You might only need 11 points.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a lot of Raider fans in our audience. So we'd love to hear from you about how this thing got to the point where it did. Has this been the moment you've been, quite frankly, waiting for? And Davante Adams never really fit on this team. Are you blaming Antonio Pierce? Do you blame ownership? Are you blaming the front office? A little bit of everything? It's got to be a disappointing day.
You might blame Davante Adams for leaving Green Bay in the first place.
Well,
I think as I recall, he asked out of there. He had a choice. They gave him very similar money, and he said, I'd rather leave. So he left. There was still Rodgers there. So I think you could blame him. If you look back on it, if you could have a mulligan, I would tell that dude to stay in Green Bay.
Right. That's tough, though, because you'd have to assume a lot. Right? You'd have to assume that he knows that Jordan Love's going to be the guy. You have to assume that he knows Aaron Rodgers wants to keep playing. Remember, Rodgers in and out of the darkness retreat. He's going to the jungles in Costa Rica to, be high on ayahuasca. He's not exactly the Mr. Reliable.
Counterpoint. He left the Green Bay Packers organization for the Las Vegas Raiders. That is not exactly the smartest business move.
Like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case. I mean, that's a hard one for me to push back on. But again, like the last couple years with the Packers hasn't exactly been a picnic. Now it looks good. At the end of last year, it looks great when they're beating the Cowboys and they're going into 49ers and putting a scare into them. But, you know, it was dicey.
Yeah, but you know there's an organizational stability there that you don't have in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Rodgers almost tried to upset that.
But Matt LaFleur is now a good coach. Anyway, regardless, he at least get one more year with her. He hasn't achieved anything in Vegas.
I know. And they traded away Derek Carr, or basically got rid of him. And they didn't trade him. I'm sorry. They tried to trade him, and they ended up just basically, cutting him. And I think that probably set things off onto a different course. But it's been a while since then. We've gone through a lot since then. 855-212-4227. This one's juicy. And what's also interesting about this, the Raiders part of it, where he would consider a trade and they would consider trading him. He's that kind of guy where literally 31 other teams have to be sitting around. You must have a meeting about this today if you're every team in the league.
And with the injury rash, everybody needs a receiver. You have a team in mind? I think you got one. I got one.
You've got yours? I've got mine?
I got one.
All right. I think ours are definitely different.
We'll see.
Where should Davante Adams go? I've got my pick. Perloff has his pick. Two different teams. 855-212-4227. All right, sports fans, this one's important. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. So that's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation.
Maggie was sneaking in the back of the class, orange and Perloff scribbling, knew she had to act fast. The question on the page, yeah, looked kinda tough, but Maggie leaned in, cause cheating ain't that rough. She copied every word, thought she had it made. The answer was Fred Warner, a linebacker upgrade. But no one's talking football, no one's looking that way, cause we're stuck on the fact that Peter Pilotti's gone today. She copied every word, thought she had it made. The answer was Fred Warner, a linebacker upgrade. But no one's talking football, no one's looking that way, cause we're stuck on the fact that Peter Pilotti's gone today. Peter Pillotti, where you at? We can't ignore the truth. You haven't been to work since who knows what or who. No matter what glorious spot might think or say, we'll keep talking about you missing every single day. Got the answers, Maggie thought she'd scored, but the real question is, where's Peter, what for? We got Fred Warner on the paper, football's on the scene, but Pilotti's absence is the biggest mystery we've seen. Glorious Black keeps saying, move on, let it rest, but we can't help ourselves, beat the ultimate test. From mischief to finish breaks, we're always on repeat. When will Peter show up? That's the answer we need. Peter Pillotti, where you at? We can't ignore the truth. You haven't been to work since who knows what or who. No matter what Glorious Black might think or say, we'll keep talking about you missing every single day. Maggie's got the grade, but who's really won? When Pilotti's absence overshadows all the fun. Fred Warner's on the answer sheet, but we got bigger news. Peter's gone again, and we're singing the Pilotti blues. Peter Pillotti, where you at? We can't ignore the truth. You haven't been to work since who knows what or who. No matter what glorious Black might think or say, we'll keep talking about you missing every single day. So Maggie might have cheated, but who even cares? When Peter's no-show has us pulling out our hair. Fred Warner's the answer, but here's the real fact. Peter Pillotti not showing up is what keeps us coming back. Maggie's got the grade, but who's really won when Belotti's absence overshadows all the fun?
One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Now, I consider myself a very smart person, obnoxiously so, but I will admit I have blind spots, and we just ran into one, Maggie.
I mean, I feel like we should call Dartmouth and just say, what were you thinking?
I was an English major. But I think you and Andrew Bogus, who just came in the studio, are overconfident in your knowledge of small organs in the body.
Listen, Perloff just turned to me in the break and said, "Do women have prostates?"
Well, I have no idea. I have no slightest idea.
That sentence is the problem.
Because we're doing a really important read on prostate cancer.
No, it's important.
But I just honestly, I don't even know. I have no idea what a prostate does.
Right. So
I know that like men have prostate cancer, have to go to the bathroom at night a lot.
Right. And you got to get it checked out, and it's all very serious. But the funny part is you said, "Do women have prostates?" And I laughed because I'm like, obviously I know enough to know no. But then you kind of stumped me because you're like, well, what does the prostate do? And I was like,
yeah. And then you read it. It was kind of gross, to be honest.
Well, it's just a little familiar to men.
Well, yeah, because I don't know. How do you
not know, though? It's like your own equipment.
I don't know what the gallbladder does. I don't know what the pancreas does. I don't know what the appendix does. I have no idea. And by the way, I have 2 daughters. Like any question about anything health related, go to mom.
Well, you're not expected to know everything about the female anatomy, but wouldn't you know about the male?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not asking you to tell me what the breeding habit of prairie dogs are, like your own stuff that you have on your own body.
As a young man, honestly, if I could get the bra unhooked, then I would consider myself a winner, let alone know the body parts. The body parts, no. I can speak for all men. We say we really have no idea what's going on down there. But regardless, this is getting a little adult for 6 a.m. Eastern. I have no idea. I understand. I watch Grey's Anatomy. I have no idea. I have the slightest idea what anything in your body does.
You didn't read the book, Grey's Anatomy, clearly.
No, you're talking 50 Shades of Grey.
No, I'm talking about the medical book.
Oh, is that where it comes from?
Yes.
Oh, see, I thought it was a piece of Madeline Gray.
It's a play on. Anyway, to be fair, though, you didn't know if women
I'm an
have
English
prostates.
major. I don't know anything about it. I go to the doctor. I'm like, what are you talking about?
You just said you mean 50 Shades of Grey.
Because there's
an erotic trilogy?
There's a lot of prostate in that book,
Yikes.
in that show.
Yeah, do you need a chain and a whip to check your prostate?
Now you guys are getting a little gross. Nico's only 21 years old. Can you guys
I'll close my ears? You guys can have an adult conversation.
Class for Nico.
Nico is turning red on the. I mean, please.
I'm turning red.
We should do it. All right. If I prepared an anatomy quiz, not a PG anatomy quiz, you guys, I could quiz you about 4 different organs. You'd have no idea what they do.
But
fair.
But, Maggie, I think that we'd get 100
on do I have it?
Exactly.
Do I have a gallbladder? Yes, I do. Do I know what it does? Not really. But I know I have one. And I know it'd probably be a pain in the butt if something went wrong with it. Prostate, I don't have. Very confident in that. And then when I looked up what it does, now I'm 100% sure. Meanwhile, Davante Adams. What to do about that guy?
He has a prostate.
And if he were on the show today, we could ask him.
And the Raiders might remove it.
Along with everything on his body from the organization. Question about what went wrong. Eddie's in Arizona. Eddie, good morning. If you're a Raider fan, what went wrong here?
Oh, yeah, Raider Nation. But here's the thing. There's two things here. Perloff, you will talk a lot about the Netflix series with Davante Adams. That's a totally different Davante Adams than now. That was the Josh McDaniels era, which did not work coaching-wise, and then AP moving forward, right? You heard no trade talks until now. What's going on now is businessing. It's, hey, this guy costs this much. We can save money here. All that good stuff. I think it's a bad look all around. Everybody's sad, but it's just businessing at the end of the day.
Eddie, it's a good point. Let's flesh that out just quickly without getting into too much of the details. This is the last guaranteed year of Davante Adams' contract. So it's dummy years after this. So that's for the Raiders. One thing, can you get something before he walks out the door? If you cut him, you don't get a compensatory pick. If you just play out the contract, you would, but maybe you get something a little bit better. On the flip side of that, if you're a team who wants to trade for Davante Adams, just know you're trading for a rental. So you got to get this year under your salary cap, but next year he needs a new contract. Good point. Yep. Good point. Great point. It's businessing, Eddie, and I get it, but messy. Which also kind of plays into my theory that maybe Antonio Pierce did this on purpose. He liked the Instagram post knowing that it would set off this chain of events.
I got to be honest, aren't you game planning for Denver? How do you have time to even, what is he scrolling through Instagram for? I thought head coaches work 20 hours a day and watching film.
Everyone has to check their prostate, and what do you do during that? No, I don't know if you're scrolling through Instagram. Everyone's got 2 minutes for social media.
Oh, you mean he was in the restroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you check your prostate when you're at the restroom. I was trying to make a joke. I don't know what you guys do in there, but I think you have 2 seconds to probably scroll.
Still, I think that head coaches should not like an Instagram post about trading his best player. Well, that is not ideal. That is not ideal coaching.
That's why I can't figure out, I can't figure out another reason that it wouldn't be intentional to try to get the ball rolling on this. Dan is in California. You do have a month before the trade deadline, so plenty of time for something to get ironed out. Good morning, Dan.
Hey, Maggie and Perloff. Boy, you guys took an interesting curveball there while I was waiting to almost made my mind go blank.
Yeah, just a little prostate talk this morning. Nothing crazy.
I knew that only males have prostate glands or whatever they're called.
We know that now.
Why don't you tell everybody what it does? We're dying to know now.
I think
make it PG-13 at least.
I'm just surprised that Perloff didn't know what it does.
No idea.
Well, he's a young guy. You gotta get
true.
older.
I thought that the other. I got it confused with the pair of things below it. I thought they did all that action.
Again, I don't know how you confuse that.
I haven't had health class in a long time. But by the way, you take a PSA test for prostate. That's a big thing. I had no idea what PSA meant, and I just read it. I still don't even know.
What, do you go into the doctor's office with a blindfolded earplugs in?
It's a prostate-specific antigen. Okay. What does that mean?
So you want more or less of that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Bang your pro.
I think you want less of that.
Perloff goes into the doctor like, how you doing? Great. Well, see ya.
You don't
are there any conversation that's going on?
No, he just goes in, he gets put under, and he wakes up and 90 minutes later and it's all done. No questions asked.
Okay. You guys, do you know the difference between HDL and LDL cholesterol?
Yeah, that's not good. One's worse than the other.
That's all I know, too.
Yeah.
Hey, can I talk about Davante Adams?
Meh. Do we have to? No. Yes, of course. Of course.
Well, if I can say it, I'm dying to say it. If this is allowed, I think it is. I think it has related to the penis in male.
That was Davante Adams?
That's what we were looking for. Got it.
Really? I thought it was part of the digestive system.
I kid you not. I thought Dan was about to be like, he should go back to the Packers. I didn't know that's what where he was going to go.
I shouldn't have had that second piece of garlic bread. Now my prostate's really full.
We are rocking and rolling at 6:30 in the morning.
You know what? I'm glad that this is an educational program now. We can maybe we can get some kind of funding. Yeah.
We drive you to educate yourselves.
Yes. No, this is like when people you ask questions and then you find out the answers. Big question: where will Davante Adams
can we get
land?
one serious thing? I've heard that almost every man will get prostate cancer eventually. So it's like one of those.
Get checked.
It's one of those organs that is just not well designed by the big guy upstairs.
No, it's 1 in 8. Not every.
Well, right. If you live long enough, if you live to 90, you're very likely to have prostate problems, which is interesting to me. Like certain organs just have not worked out well.
Right, like how we don't have tails anymore.
Well, like the appendix is nothing but trouble.
Right.
The pancreas, like if you get trouble there, you're in huge trouble.
Big trouble, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
I've been wondering about this because we've been doing this read, and now I think I'm going to go get after the show. I'm going to go get my prostate checked.
I feel like you should. You should have been this whole time.
I'll put it on Instagram.
See if Antonio Pierce likes it.
No, I will not put on Instagram.
You should. It will help raise awareness.
Let's go as a show.
You know how they check the prostate, right,
Y'all
Maggie?
can go as a show.
Maggie, are you aware how they? That is not going on anybody's Instagram.
Is this the turn and cough? I don't know.
Yes, kinda.
Is it related to the turn and cough? I don't know.
It's the Moon River.
I don't know that.
Me neither.
Fletch, Moon River.
Hey, Doc.
Oh, I thought you might have known
Fletch. I know Fletch, and I know now exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's nervously talking in the doctor's office.
You'll hear a lot of jokes. You're like, wait, you're not going to buy me a drink first?
Yeah. That's how you treat a lady?
It definitely ain't the turn and cough.
Well, I'm not sure. I've heard of the turn and cough, but I don't know what that's about. And I don't want to know now.
Turn and cough is a hernia check, right? Help me out here, Bogus.
Yeah, but it also involves like a glove and hands in certain places and stuff like that.
No, right. That's the prostate.
They're adjacent to each other.
Yeah.
The turn and cough is the entry level procedure. The prostate one is graduate level.
We should definitely talk football because I think a lot of people are squirming on their car seats right now. Like,
Or,
like this squirm. You know that squirm when you talk about that stuff?
Listen, if you were thinking about it, this is your sign. This is the universe telling you if you're in your car right now, go get checked out. This is the universe telling you go to the doctor. Bogish is here with headlines.
And those headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, your furry friends, maybe even a prostate with Life Electronic Device and Pet Health Insurance. The New York Mets are halfway to Philadelphia.
Now the pitch. Breaking ball hit on the ground. Right side, base hit, right field. Nimmo is in. Vientos around third, coming to the plate. The throw goes to third. 2-run score. Stopping at second is Alonso. J.D. Martinez with a 2-run single. And the Mets have put up a 5 spot here in the 5th inning. They go in front of the Brewers 8-4.
Howie Rose on Mets radio. Those Mets taking game 1 in Milwaukee 8-4, partly because their pitchers retired the last 15 Brewers after that huge 5th inning, all after Carlos Mendoza's team played a game in Milwaukee on Sunday, went to Atlanta for 2, and then went back to Wisconsin.
Everybody's tired, but once it's play ball, you got to go, and it's going to be electric. It's going to be loud. That was the case today, and you just got to feed off that.
Game 2 is 6:30 Central today. The Tigers and Royals won in Houston and Baltimore in the afternoon. The Padres finally got the home team a win, 4-0 over the Braves last night. Michael King K'ing 12 without a walk, over 7 for San Diego. Kyle Higashioka caught him.
He was incredible. I mean, the playoff atmosphere clearly, juiced him up and got the best out of him. So I was extremely happy with what I saw, and I'm sure he was extremely happy with himself.
Higashioka and Fernando Tatis Jr. homered for the Padres.
Ayo.
King, by the way, is the first pitcher ever in his first career postseason start to have 12 or more Ks without a walk or a run allowed.
You know what that Tatis home runs means, right?
Yeah, you're winning 1-0.
There you go.
It's early, EJ.
So yesterday we did a home run draft of all postseason players. We all got 3 players on our teams, and literally EJ's last pick was Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's the only person who hit a home run yesterday.
Let's go.
He was the first person. I mean, we went 3 full games without a home run.
I know.
It was like when he hit the home run, not only was I excited for like just him, but also I was like, oh snap, yeah, that's a thing people can do in baseball. I've watched all this baseball all day, and the Mets games I was playing run score, but no home runs. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
Wait till they get to the Philly Stadium, then you'll see some home runs.
I was going to say, and of all places,
Nico could hit one out of Citizens Bank.
Someone could hit Nico out of.
Yeah, definitely. You could throw Nico from home plate over that fence. But EJ, it's a 1-0 lead. It is super early. Most of our players haven't even suited up yet.
Right, but I have an advantage here because Tatis could have 2 more games.
I
and
know.
If he's locked in, he's one of those guys that can really go on a run.
Did anyone else have major regret watching yesterday? I was like, oh, I should have picked more just people who are proven in the postseason. Like, why didn't I pick Jose Altuve or someone like that who's hit massive postseason home runs, and I didn't do it?
Yeah, but the wild card teams, it's a big risk that they'll go out early. I did the math. I had analytics involved here. And then I just picked my favorite players. Bryce Harper. Analytics says Bryce Harper is what the analytics say.
The Buffalo Bills are losing Von Miller to a 4-game personal conduct policy suspension. Miller was never officially charged, but was accused of physically assaulting his pregnant girlfriend last November. Cowboys D lineman DeMarcus Lawrence officially on IR with a foot injury. He could miss 2 months, and Mike McDaniel says Snoop Huntley remains the Dolphins' starting QB for Sunday's game with the Patriots. The New York Liberty taking a 2-0 lead on the Aces in their WNBA semifinal with an 88-84 win in Brooklyn. Sabrina Ionescu with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. The Lynx did salvage a split at home, 77-70 over the Sun. And Texas State has declined an invitation to the Mountain West, who remains in search of the required 8th full-time member. So heady times in the Sun Belt as they keep the Bobcats for now.
Is Texas State, is that the one from the movie
Necessary
with
Roughness?
Kathy Ireland?
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
Definitely.
Yes, Jason Bateman was the kicker.
Yep.
Oh,
Sinbad's in that movie, isn't he?
I think Sinbad is on the team. Scott Bakula is the quarterback.
Yeah. And
That's
he's like
Texas
he's old.
State, right?
He's like Brandon Whedon age in college.
Yeah.
Now that would just be normal. Hit the portal twice.
Cam Rising, he was old, but he wasn't Cam Rising old.
Alan Bowman is basically based on his life.
Alan Bowman has been around since. Do you remember when he went up against Charlie Ward at Florida State? Yeah.
All-time showdown.
Yeah.
I do want to talk for a second about the Von Miller thing because people know I'm a big Bills fan. What a disaster of a signing this has been. The fact that we don't even know what he may be in trouble for, but only your imagination could go wild. What a headache. Who had one half of a good season before he got hurt. And if this brings like all this bad stuff on Buffalo in a year when basically Baltimore just exposed their entire defense, and this is going to be a distraction, this is going to go down as one of the worst signings in the history of the entire team.
Well, again, glass half full. He gets a 4-game rest, and he's old, so he needs this rest. But go ahead.
Dude,
Sorry,
he's
EJ.
done. He will not take another snap for the Bills, I bet.
I was just going to say, he was actually playing okay this year, which is
I
kind
know
of
he
crazy.
had three sacks in the first 3 games in a very limited role, but it's not even about that. It's like he's just somehow had all this weird stuff in his personal life that's been a lot of it very unsavory,
But
and he's skated on all of it.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is he? I mean, he has some great career numbers, but he's one of those guys where this could hurt his Hall of Fame.
Well, but he's got in trouble in the past, too.
Yes.
This is not new.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's always settled.
got
and like,
steroids, too, I believe,
Yeah, I
right?
think
I was going to say, I think he has a drug suspension.
I didn't think it was steroids.
that's right.
I thought it was
You're right.
something else.
It was. I think it was recreational
Yes.
drugs. You're right.
And like the weird stuff where the woman then all of a sudden recants and, listen, it's just what a headache this
But
could
that
end
being
up
said, like I'm surprised to hear you say that, and you could be right. You think he's played the last game there? Because if it's a 4-game suspension, why not just come back right afterwards?
because we don't know what are the details here. You know?
But
we'll never know with this guy.
It sounds like the accusation, which I've been reading as well, about him assaulting his girlfriend.
Yeah, in the past. And maybe is this again another instance of that? I mean, the guy gets no benefit of the doubt whatsoever.
Specifically for that the last incident. But yeah, you're right. You're right. But I mean, honestly, you know how the NFL works, Maggie. If he's eligible, I could see them just putting him right back in and saying, "Go get the passer." It's not complicated.
Ugh, but yuck. If any of this stuff is true, I don't know. I not worth it. And the Bills' defense is not good. It's still not worth it to me. Not worth it. 855-212-4227. So that's my official stance on that. We've got so much more to do. Bogusch, thank you. The Davante Adams situation, asking for a trade reportedly. The team is, quote-unquote, considering it. Very, very messy, but it could be another team's big gain as there's a weapon. He's definitely a weapon who could help any contender. We'll get to that next.
The prostate do? He's mixing up Grey's Anatomy with 50 Shades. It's true. It's shocking how he wonders if women have one too. This basic health stuff shouldn't be so new. It's not some wild scene from a crazy book. Just learn the facts, give a proper look. Prostate's not a 50 Shades or Grey's Anatomy. Come on, Perloff, this is real biology. But I don't care what glorious flat says. No, I'm here to keep the Bilotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. He's quoting Meredith Grey, thinking he's so wise. But Bilotti's absence is the real surprise. Forget the prostate chat, I'm tired of the fluff. Peter's out again, and that's enough. It's not a scene from 50 Shades or any book. Just learn the facts with a better look. Prostate's surreal, but I gotta say, Bilotti's gone, and that's my focus today. But I don't care what glorious flat says. No, I'm here to keep the Bilotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. It's not a scene from 50 Shades or any book. Just learn the facts with a better look. Prostate's surreal, but I gotta say, Bilotti's gone, and that's my focus today. But I don't care what glorious splat says. No, I'm here to keep the Bilotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. Andrew's stuck in 50 Shades, but Bilotti's skipping work for days and days. So I'll shout it loud, forget all the anatomy. Bilotti's gone, and that's my final plea.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Vegas and Davante Adams, and this situation has escalated. It was like slow, fast, right? You knew that there might have been some issues between the player and the organization, but everyone had been saying and doing all the right things, right, Pearl? But
sort of.
No longer. Longer. And the latest thing, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, was head coach Antonio Pierce of the Las Vegas Raiders liking an Instagram post asking if Davante Adams has played his last snap as a Raider. And then we find out from the Kay Adams show, and Davante Adams on her show, saying nobody's reached out to me. The coach hasn't reached out. No one's tried to clear the air. And that's where Antonio Pierce gets a total F here. And I wonder, are they doing this on purpose in some way to try to get Davante Adams to ask for a trade or something? Because he was hired, yes, because he's a good football mind, but also vibes guy. Locker room dude. Clear the air, the bad smell after Josh McDaniels, who comes from the Belichick tree, where I'm assuming they don't communicate about anything except for football. And if something like this happens, like any head coach, it's your responsibility to be a good communicator. Isn't that like step one?
You know, the only caveat I would say is Antonio Pierce is a defense guy who might not understand the mentality of a wide receiver. Like, I think like he is like as tough as they come. And I'm not sure he can put up with diva wide receiver behavior. So I can see there being a little bit of a person. He might be a player's guy, but does that apply when you have a former linebacker and a number one wide receiver? It doesn't seem like they would have a lot in common.
Yeah, but if you're the head coach and Davante Adams stood up and supposedly supported you when it was a decision time about whether or not he'd have the interim tag removed, I think that's somebody, it's about relationships, right? Whether you're on the same side of the ball or not. Isn't coaching about relationships?
Yes, but you always hear about
especially with the stars.
You always hear about defensive head coaches having a different vibe. Also, maybe it's about relationships, but just about football too. Like, is Antonio Pierce, does he really want to open up that offense and throw for 400 yards a game, or is he going to be more conservative? I honestly, forget personalities for a second. Just from a football standpoint, I think Davante Adams has lots of reasons to leave the Raiders. He's at the end of his career. He wants to go win.
No doubt. Josh is in California, Raider fan. Good morning, Josh. What's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I have mixed emotions about this and having almost 12 hours to think about it. Like you guys mentioned, he took similar money to go to the Raiders instead of staying in Green Bay. And I think he generally wanted to make it work with the Raiders, being a hometown guy, having ties with Tim Brown and having this college quarterback here. But it's just the Raiders have had bad decision after bad decision making, have put a bad team around him. So, and I think after this crazy letdown loss to the Panthers, after such a great road win against the Ravens, and I think Davante's like, you know what, I'm not going to waste another season with this team. So for that fact, I understand him. He's older in his career. Time for him to move on, maybe get some picks out of it. Also, on the other side of things, I was kind of getting tired after every loss. Media had to check in on Davante Adams. How's he feeling about it? His body language started changing more negatively instead of being like a leader, more like a pouty person. So at this point, I'm just kind of ready to move on, hopefully get some picks out of it. And appreciate him coming over here, but we just don't have a quarterback to utilize him to his best abilities.
Listen, Josh, you're right. It's a sober way to think about it, and thank you for the call, which is the Davante Adams that came over to play with Derek Carr. That was a different mentality. That was a team that's trying to compete with the Chiefs. That's the team that thinking, all right, we put these two guys together, we've got something cooking. And that all went by the wayside in one season.
Oh,
and now you're just in a totally different era, if you will, of Raider football.
And you're in a different era of Davante Adams, too. Like, Davante Adams can't wait for them to fix it. Like, I don't even think he could when he got there. This was, I actually put it ultimately on him. I mean, he had to know what he was getting into here. He had to see that even if he had one amazing year, this was eventually going to happen with the Raiders, because it's kind of happened with every Raider over the last, say, 10 years. They just have not been well run. I mean, you had the Gruden Mayock era. He really, he was warned about leaving an organization like Green Bay. So, but do you see it that way, that part of this is on Davante?
I can't blame a guy because I think he was not sure what Aaron Rodgers was going to do. And so I can't blame a guy for not having a crystal ball to see that Jordan Love was going to end up looking like the next heir apparent. I can't blame a guy for saying, I could be someone who changes a culture. I think that when you're a really great player, I think you have that kind of, I'm going to say hubris, but I think it's earned. Hey, I'll go to the Raiders and I'll change it. Look what Aaron Rodgers is trying to do with the Jets. I'll go to the Jets and I'll change the building.
Right. It's an impossible task. Exactly. You cannot change 50 years of Jets. You cannot change 20 years of Raiders. No player can do that.
Well, no player, but I'm watching Dan Campbell change things with the Lions. I know that's a head coach. I'm watching, I watched Josh Allen change things for my Buffalo Bills, who are as pathetic as anybody. The Patriots were not any great organization, really, before they had some changes. It is kind of cyclical. So maybe sometimes you do catch a little fire in a bottle, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, but you're talking about head coaches and quarterbacks. Has a wide receiver ever gone and changed a culture? That doesn't seem like, because the wide receiver is so dependent on the quarterback anyway, that really the Raiders don't feel different in those situations because their problems are so self-inflicted. I think it starts with ownership, too. I have no personal beef with Mark Davis. It just doesn't seem like he's running. He hired Tom Telesco coming off the Chargers run. He doesn't really, things don't make sense right now. I think, honestly, if I'm the Raiders, I do trade Adams and start over. I agree with the caller. It's time to, listen, I know you've been resetting a lot, but do another full reset here. And Antonio Pierce, unfortunately, he's not going to make it.
Unless he's really in it for the long haul. But I ask you this question, and we're talking about the nitty gritty of how this all got here, and Antonio Pierce liking an Instagram post that says Davante Adams may have played his last snap as a Raider. Is he too, if this is just how it appears on the surface, and he just did this because he's frustrated or whatever with his player and wanted to send a message or is trying to assert dominance or whatever it is, I don't know what the reason. Is this guy really have the temperament to be a head coach? Because at some point you are going to have to get along with stars. That's just it. Whether you're in the rebuild, whether you're in the final stages, not everybody is Belichick and Brady, where Brady will take 20 years of abuse and the coach can just say, I'm going to show all of his negative plays and I'm not going to, and even there, they have their stuff behind the scenes. You have to find a way to get along with star players. And he watched the Giants. When he played for the Giants, you're watching the team get along with Michael Strahan. You know what happened with LT. You've seen, maybe Eli Manning was an under-the-radar superstar, but you've seen this in your career. You get it. You have to get it.
I hear you. I don't think he has. I mean, it's not normal. There aren't a lot of coaches that are linebackers. I feel like it's like
Vrabel.
I think Jack Del Rio.
Yep.
And Vrabel didn't really last. He rubbed people.
We'll see where his next stop is.
He rubbed people wrong in that building. I just think that ideally a backup quarterback is who you turn into a coach, a guy who can get along with everybody. Linebackers are generally, you mentioned temperament. The temperament of a linebacker is go out there and kill the opponent. It is unusual for that to translate into head coaching because you have to be a diplomat, you have to be a disciplinarian, you have to be a million different things. And I don't think Antonio Pierce is necessarily set up for success here. And obviously, the Raiders are a rebuild. That's the issue here. He was an interim coach who took over this job. They don't have a quarterback right now. They're clearly going to have to draft somebody next year. This is rebuild, has rebuild written all over it. Davante Adams isn't going to be there for sure in the next phase. And I think it's very, very slim chance that Pierce is there. You're going to bring in the top 5 pick quarterback. You're going to want a defensive head coach for that guy? No. Look at what's happening in Chicago. They regret keeping Eberflus. You're going to want an offensive guy to mentor that quarterback. And the odds of that being Pierce seem slim.
I know, but then you get into the cost benefit. Do we start over again? And now we're still on the carousel of another head coach and no stability. And again, you might have to be really bad to get one of the top quarterbacks this year.
Yeah,
is this a 3-win team?
No,
they already have 2.
Last year you went 12 deep with quarterbacks. You got the Bo Nix with a 12 pick. I think there's a bunch of quarterbacks. I think there are going to be 4 first-round picks, 4 top 10 picks. They'll get somebody.
Shador,
Carson Beck. Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward. They'll get one of those guys.
We still have not answered the question, where should Davante Adams go? Perloff and I have thoughts on that. Two different teams. Mine makes sense to me. His makes sense to him. We'll see what makes sense to you at 855-212-4227. We also have an update on the Steelers quarterback situation. We've got college stuff to get to. And, of course, baseball from last night. It's Maggie and Perloff. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, step right up. 31 other NFL teams make your best pitch for Davante Adams. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. If you're in the market for a wide receiver, or maybe you're not, one could be available now because Davante Adams reportedly asking for a trade from the Raiders. The Raiders are, quote-unquote, considering it. I'm sure they are. They're probably phones ringing off the hook like it's a telethon or something. They might as well be raising money. And Pearl, it's, something that had a big moment earlier this week when head coach Antonio Pierce liked an Instagram post from Sports Illustrated that asked if Davante Adams had played his last snap as a Raider. And then nobody went to Davante and said, hey, that was a mistake. Hey, sorry, my fat fingers. Hey, sorry, my fingers are mangled from all my years as a linebacker. Nobody said anything, just crickets. So, of course, Davante Adams probably thinks it's time to go.
Yeah, well, I think he wanted to get out of there anyway. I think he was looking for a spark to start this fire here. I think he wants out. He's wanted out probably all season. Now, Pierce talks today, by the way. I'm dying to hear his explanation. Does he just say, I liked it, so sue me, or is he like it was a mistake? I think he has to say it was a mistake. He's going to come out and say that was a mistake because he'll look like an idiot if he actually got onto Instagram and game week and liked a post saying, I want to trade my player. This is something head coaches cannot admit to doing because that'd be one of the dumber head coaching moves we've seen.
Right. That's why I can't help but be conspiracy theory Maggie on this one and say, did they want to tick off Davante Adams? Did they want to force him into this position where he's like, guys, you're pushing my hand here. I can't just sit here and have my own organization taking shots at me on social media and not do anything about it. Because to me, Davante Adams, at least publicly, has always said the right things. Aaron Rodgers has talked about Davante Adams, but Davante Adams has never said, oh, I want to trade. He's always said, this is where I am. He said, I don't want to go chasing. He doesn't want to do a Kevin Durant, if you will. Doesn't want to be perceived as a bus rider. All that stuff. And now I can understand where he's coming from. Like, now you got to do something. Now, one thing you and I have not talked about with regards to this is where should Davante Adams go? What makes the most sense? Because we can unpack the Raiders' dysfunction, and you're welcome to call on that at 855-212-4227. But who's Raider loss? Like, who's going to gain Davante Adams and how much of a game changer he could be at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of injuries around the NFL and wide receiver spot, so there are a lot of suitors. I think you just got to go with the most simple answer, reunite with Aaron Rodgers. Because to me, there's a couple key reasons. One, the Jets need more offensive explosion. Aaron Rodgers hasn't totally gelled with Garrett Wilson, their number one receiver. Garrett Wilson, in fact, out there criticizing his own offense, not good. Mike Williams is coming off an injury as number two receiver. He could use Davante Adams. That's obvious. The second thing is Davante Adams probably, Dan Graziano said the trade might not happen because if you wait a few weeks, his cap number comes down. Basically, it comes down $1 million every week they wait. So he needs to come in about week 7 or 8 and know the offense immediately. So he's got to go to a coordinator that he knows. So I'm assuming him and Nathaniel Hackett are on the same page. He's got to know the terminology. I think the cadence, the other teams, well, I know nobody knows Aaron Rodgers' cadence in New York, but I just think mid-season he can't go to a new system. So to me, that makes the Jets the most logical fit. And I'm going to credit the 33rd team, the excellent website that covers football. Trade Hassan Reddick, get rid of their headache, give him to the Raiders, and say a third-round pick, Reddick and a third-round pick, just makes so much sense. I think Rodgers needs that comfort of having Davante Adams. And I think you see a lot of lists on the internet. The Jets are in all of them. It just makes so much sense. The only thing that gets in the way is that the Jets tend not to do the thing that makes the most sense. But this is the other thing, too. You've mentioned this is an all-in year for New York. Totally. Like, they can't mess around. Joe Douglas's job, the GM, is on the line. The coach's job is definitely on the line, Robert Saleh. And Rodgers knows he doesn't have a lot of years. So all in, all the stars seem to be aligning. The only thing that makes me nervous is the Jets generally don't follow a logical path when it comes to team building. But this one, they kind of have to do.
Yeah.
And I say third round pick, be damned, do it.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. The Hassan Reddick thing is kind of an interesting wrinkle to this. I've seen a little bit of that but are the Raiders sure he's going to show up in their facility? Do they want to pay this guy? You know, his stock is pretty low right now because he literally didn't show up.
Also, do the Raiders want to win games? You know, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders. You're going to have to get awfully high to get him. Does Hassan Reddick help you or hurt you?
So the one thing you're right about the Jets. Do they usually make the right move? No. But there is one thing that the Jets have going for them with regards to this. Their owner loves stars. There's a reason why Rodgers has full reign of this organization, and make no mistake, he does. Not only would he be lobbying Joe Douglas, the general manager, he's also, I'm sure, getting in the ear of Woody Johnson, the owner, who was the same guy who brought in Tim Tebow for no good reason, the same guy who, wanted Favre and is always looking for the savior, always looking for that one guy who's going to come in and save the organization. And the irony is that they had some of their more successful years when they just had a good defense and almost like like Mark Sanchez. But he loves stars and what you can sell. Davante Adams is a no-doubt star. And so I think this is a place where ownership, GM, head coach, everyone would be aligned on the same page to go get him. And so it's a good pick by you. But it's not the pick, I think.
But all that being said, I don't know, the Jets aren't always the biggest free agent player. They never went after Davante in the first place.
Well, they went after Rodgers, and I actually think they may have secretly have been talking. I don't know. They're not going to talk with him. That'd be tampering.
Yeah.
But they signed everyone else that Rodgers wanted.
But I feel the star team, the Raiders are a team that traditionally has gone over stars. Daniel Snyder's Washington team. I don't know if I put the Jets in there because they have Rodgers, but hey, if that helps, because I'm strong. If I could bet on this, I'd bet the Jets.
Yeah, I think there are odds on some offshore
BetAG.
Yeah, check your password a couple times on that. It's a great point. Him going to the Jets makes a lot of sense. I don't think that's the team where he's going to go. I also think there's a team that maybe is off to a bit of an unexpected start, also has some veterans, also could be in a win-now mode, also has head coach, GM could be on the hot seat, need to have a good season, and that's just going to the Saints. Derek Carr, again, these two guys can't quit each other. And they didn't really get the time, and they didn't have the right head coach to see this thing through. Derek Carr, Davante Adams, college teammates, love playing with each other, and it just got cut short. They have unfinished business. And I think the Saints getting off to a hot start, very winnable division. They're right there. And I think a lot of people's jobs are on the line in New Orleans, too. So I think New Orleans is the place.
That makes sense. Their receivers are pretty good.
Olave's good, but he's hurt. I mean, he's still out there making plays, and Kamara has been phenomenal as a running back and can catch passes out of the backfield.
Right, Rashid Shaheed got off to a super hot start, and then it's been a little slow. That makes a perfect sense, except...
And they have a veteran team, a veteran defense, all of that.
Does this feel like a Saints move? This would be a little out of character for them.
Well,
they're not
fortune favors the bold. Probably.
Yeah, no, they're not like a Rams all-in kind of team, generally. But I like it. It'd be great indoors. Davante should be thrilled for that because there are a lot of opportunities in that offense. Defenses have to worry about Kamara. Olave takes a ton of attention away.
Listen, Clint Kubiak in this new offense, and this is fun. It's fun to watch the Saints.
Yeah, which is right. It's the stretch. It's the ball fake. It's the play action.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing though. I like my choice a little bit more, because Davante would have to maybe learn that Kubiak offense. So he's played in Green Bay forever, and then he went with Josh McDaniels in Vegas, and now Did the
LaFleurs all work for Kubiak too, right? Didn't Saleh work for Kubiak? He did. He worked on the defensive side, but he was in Houston when his dad, why am I blanking on his name?
Gary.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak.
Right. But I'm a little out of my depth here. So Green Bay runs the classic West Coast offense, and Clint Kubiak runs the Gary Kubiak stretch offense.
Right, a little bit different, but again, it's
similar because
it's not
Kubiak worked for Mike Shanahan.
Right, So they're all kind of, I think,
They're all from the same tree.
Based off of each other. Okay, I put Jets and Saints out there. EJ, you're a Jets fan. Nico, you're also a Jets. You're a Giants fan. I should know that. You came in wearing all that Giants gear recently.
Nico just dresses as like random players.
Nico's like a Modell's.
Yeah, no.
It's just all your whole wardrobe of sports stuff. We love that around here. What do you think about the Jets and Davante, EJ?
It's one of those things where like I hear the rumors and I'm like, okay. I guess maybe I've been beaten down, as Maggie said, just by the Jets looking for that savior, looking for that big name that's going to put them over the top. And it just feels like the Jets have more of like a meat and potatoes issue. Like they don't consistently stop the run. They don't consistently block. So it's like, oh, let's get Davante Adams. That'll fix everything. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I can't hurt. And I'd be happy if they got him. I just feel like with the Jets, all we care about now is trying to win a Super Bowl. I just don't know if Adams makes a difference if Aaron Rodgers is getting bludgeoned behind the line. And that's a reality we saw in that rain game. And maybe, as Aaron Rodgers said, maybe it's an outlier, but it's something I've seen from the Jets now for years where they can't protect. So I think it makes sense, and I think the Jets will go after him. I would love to see Davante Adams, if not with the Jets, in Baltimore. Because
that's
Baltimore
scary.
Is the kind of team where they have just, for whatever reason, they can't figure out the wide receiver position. I mean, they've been trying to figure this out now for like 20 years.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to catch balls as a wide receiver when the ball's in your quarterback's hands and he won't let it go. He just doesn't drop back and throw it to the wide receivers. It's not Lamar's thing.
Yeah, but I feel like perhaps if those guys also ran better routes, if those guys got open, he just doesn't have great receivers. And we know that because when those guys leave Baltimore, they don't do anything either. It's not like, oh, some receiver that Lamar Jackson played with left Lamar and then went to play somewhere else and he became a Pro Bowl. Like, these guys just aren't that great. So yeah, I would love to see a real top-end guy with the Ravens, see what does that look like.
I hear what you're saying. But I just don't think he's not going to get a lot of targets there. They have Derrick Henry. They're going to run the ball. They're not going to want to throw it to him. He wants like 1,500 receiving yards.
I know, but when you think about that Chiefs game, though, where we saw a game where it was like, you can't run the ball anymore, your team is down, we need you to drop back and throw. He threw like almost 40 times that game, I think.
That was a terrible mistake.
No, it was a mistake, but you also couldn't win that way with that personnel. You can't win with playing two tight ends and two receivers. I know the tight ends are pretty good. Andrews had a bad ankle, but like you can't win that way and be down 14 points and beat a team like the Chiefs. You need a guy who trips her down. He can beat his guy one-on-one no matter what. And they just haven't had that guy since they couldn't get the T.O. trade done. Like, that has been a big issue in Baltimore for years. They tried to draft guys that hasn't worked. They've signed guys that doesn't work. You get a bona fide Hall of Famer, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I heard an interesting take on Lamar, and I don't know who to credit, saying Lamar Jackson is the greatest thrower to tight end. Was that on our show? Sorry. He said nobody.
Did you say that?
Nobody's ever said.
So Bogusch must have said it because Perloff definitely wasn't paying attention.
Lamar Jackson was killer throwing to tight ends at Louisville and is amazing, and like that's his jam, is throwing to the tight ends. It's his favorite target. It's his favorite part of the field. So I do not see this as like a happy spot for Davante Adams. I think Zay Flowers is wildly talented too, by the way. They're starting to use him a lot. He's a knucklehead. There's no doubt about that. I don't think he's a good dude, but I think he's very talented. I just don't think that Baltimore offense is ever going to be, hey, let's mimic Patrick Mahomes. It's just not what they do. By the way, Pittsburgh, the same thing. He would go insane there.
So
He'd
Pittsburgh
go totally insane.
Is another, because they were allegedly in on Ayuk. Now, that's a very different thing. You sign Ayuk, you're signing him for the long haul.
Yeah.
This would be a rental, but obviously the Steelers are off to this really good start. Would he be, Pickens barely gets enough targets.
I know.
Would Davante Adams, although maybe that takes a little bit of the pressure off of your quarterbacks, and you have a great, you have a great target. They are starting to throw a little bit more with Justin Fields, although they were behind last week, so they had to start throwing a little more.
They were not, that first half against the Colts, they didn't, how many receiver targets were there? 3?
Yeah.
I just do not, and that's another guy who holds onto the ball waiting for a bigger play, which he often gets, by the way, but still, it's not, I just don't think that's a good fit. Arthur Smith, oh my God, that would be the worst offensive coordinator for Davante Adams. He hates throwing the ball to the star players. That's his jam.
Well, the one thing is, do you play a little defense? If you think Baltimore's about to get him, if you're the Steelers, do you come in with a bigger offer just to do something like that to kind of prevent him from going to a division rival? Again, it's for a rental. The other team that I've been seeing out there is the Kansas City Chiefs. If I, to steal a line from Chevy Chase, I wake up with my head sewn to the carpet, I wouldn't be as surprised as if he went to the Chiefs. Why the Raiders would ever trade with the Chiefs? I know people like, oh, who cares? They're division rivals. It's about you. It's not about them. I think with the Chiefs and with the Raiders, it's about each other. I think there's serious bad blood there. I don't think they would do it.
If you were going to do a trade, you would have to pay a price. Like the Chiefs would have to give up a first rounder, something
they're not
crazy.
gonna do.
No. The Chiefs, I'm not sure they need Davante Adams necessarily. I feel like they need a little speed because Rashee Rice was like these extended handoffs. Davante Adams is a possession receiver at this point. Cowboys definitely coming up. They desperately need a number 2 receiver. Eagles have all their hurt receivers. And the Commanders.
Okay, so you mentioned the Cowboys, and I'm glad you mentioned them because this is another team that obviously could use Davante Adams. But you talk about this a lot. For as much as comes off as this sort of gunslinger, kind of, sharp-tongued kind of dude, they're actually rather conservative. Now, they made the big trade for Amari Cooper many years ago, but that definitely was not an in-season trade as far as I'm remembering. I believe that was an off-season.
Actually,
it might have been a trade deadline trade. I got to think back. It's rare, though. Like Amari Cooper, that was years ago that they did that. And that was 2 number 1s. I mean, that was a massive trade.
Yeah.
When they do this kind of thing, they're actually a rather conservative franchise when it comes to this type of thing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but then again, a lot of the teams you mentioned are in the same boat.
EJ, that was a midseason trade?
Yeah, that was a October trade.
But what year was that?
2018.
Wow.
First round pick for
Yeah, so it's been 6 years. I mean,
by the way, they could trade for him again today.
Everybody definitely wouldn't be a first round pick.
Yeah.
Consider they traded him away for what, a 6th rounder or something crazy. Do you think that the Cowboys are seriously considering this?
No, I don't think so. For some reason, by the way, you know what's going to happen here. You know who's going to sign him. Who has signed everybody on the market?
The Rams?
The Titans end up signing every player. Everybody, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, L'Jarius Sneed, they all end up in Tennessee. It's going to be somebody completely disappointing. That's because all these teams we're talking about, these smart teams probably see this and are like, wow, he's not worth the money. He's older. I'm not giving up draft capital. I'll bet you this doesn't go. Everyone's like linking him to contenders. I wonder if he just goes some random team that is not a contender.
But why? Then you've got to pay him. He's got no guaranteed years left after the season. So now you're trading, which gives him now major leverage if you trade away a high draft pick to, re-sign him. So now you're re-signing a plus 30 wide receiver for a team that's not a contender? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I mean, Cleveland probably does. I mean, can't imagine they have the money in Cleveland. But I think the Raiders will take the best offer. And I'm not sure that comes from these contenders. We're all sitting here saying the Jets are 1 player away. The Cowboys are 1 player away. The Chiefs are 1 player away. There's a lot. What team can take on the money? That's the other issue, too. Like, if you're really good, you probably don't have $14 million of cap space sitting around. The Jets do, though.
Can Quickie guys, the most fun option that has been mentioned, probably?
I think I know, but go ahead.
Washington.
Yeah, I just said, yeah.
Did you say Washington?
Well, I said, yeah. I said the Cowboys, Eagles, and Washington are all being
I missed the rest of the East. I mean, that's the team. And then I also think we talk about the random bad team that may do something. I think you're on the right track with AFC North. What about Jacksonville trying to save their season? Like that. Like that's a situation where I think Tennessee may be inclined to be like, you know what, we just really stink. We're going to move on from Levis, or we'll draft a quarterback and figure this out next year. I do wonder where Jacksonville, because then they just paid Trevor Lawrence, they may be like, hey, like we just can't afford to be a top 2-3 pick. Like that doesn't help us. Like we need to try to win some games this year and help him out. Let's get Adams in here. He could mentor Brian Thomas. And now we replace Calvin Ridley. Maybe that's a move that they make as a desperate team trying to get back into the playoff fund, especially considering the AFC South looks shaky.
Yeah. Did you guys know that Shad Khan, I had not known this, I heard it on Michael Lombardi's podcast, that Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags, had said this is the best team in the history of the organization, and they're 0-4.
Yeah, I mean, we had Tony Khan here, and he's kind of echoed those similar comments. He said we feel really great about our roster, and on paper, I get it. It's kind of weird. Like, I look at their roster, I'm like, yeah, I mean, they got some good players, but it just has not come together at all. Yeah.
It's funny. I thought you guys were going to say the 49ers.
Oh.
Ooh.
So many injuries. One season.
They have the cap space to do that? That would be.
For this year.
Do they?
Yeah, the Brandon Ayuk money doesn't kick in until next year. Yeah, the Purdy money doesn't kick in until next year.
Oh, what about the Trent Williams and McCaffrey and the other money?
I think all that stuff is not for this. I don't know how much it's on this season.
I like it. But I was half kidding with the Titans. They signed Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd, and DeAndre Hopkins. But I just think that there could be some randomness to this too. Like this trade might happen. We'd be like, wow, didn't see that coming. I just feel like the obvious fits, it's not as obvious. Like say you take the Jets or the Saints. Like it's just not as easy to do this. Like we play it like fantasy football owners. That darn cap. You started the show by saying the cap guys are all working. Like that cap. That's a big hit. Like people have to remember that this is not an easy trade to make at all.
Which is why the timing is actually brilliant.
How so?
You need a month. The trade deadline's not until November 7th, I believe. You need a month probably to figure this out.
And the cost goes down every week.
The cost literally goes down every week, right? Because the Raiders have to pay every game check until he gets traded. So this was probably the best time, which goes back to my original theory that I think the Raiders did this on purpose to try to push him to ask for a trade. 855-212-4227. We're asking, what's this, Maggie? This is Antonio Pierce, the head coach, liking an Instagram post that said Davante Adams had likely played his last snap as a Raider. Okay, lots more to get to, including we check in with the Cowboys. Injury news you must know about. We do that next.
All right, sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening. Because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
The prostate do? He's mixing up Grey's Anatomy with 50 Shades. It's true. It's shocking how he wonders if women have one too. This basic health stuff shouldn't be so new. It's not some wild scene from a crazy book. Just learn the facts, give a proper look. Prostate's not a 50 Shades or Grey's Anatomy. Come on, Perloff, this is real biology. But I don't care what glorious Black says. No, I'm here to keep the Bellotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. He's quoting Meredith Grey, thinking he's so wise. But Bellotti's absence is the real surprise. Forget the prostate chat, I'm tired of the fluff. Peter's out again, and that's enough. It's not a scene from 50 Shades or any book. Just learn the facts with a better look. Prostate's surreal, but I gotta say, Bellotti's gone, and that's my focus today. But I don't care what glorious Black says. No, I'm here to keep the Bellotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. It's not a scene from 50 Shades or any book. Just learn the facts with a better look. Prostate's surreal, but I gotta say, Bellotti's gone, and that's my focus today. But I don't care what glorious Black says. No, I'm here to keep the Bellotti no show. Peter never shows up, and that's the real news. Forget Perloff's lessons, I got work blues. Andrew's stuck in 50 Shades, but Bellotti's skipping work for days and days. So I'll shout it loud, forget all the anatomy. Bellotti's gone, and that's my final plea.
One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. So I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and there's a lot of things.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, no, I know. There's a lot of things I can handle. I don't like the Dallas Cowboys. So if they have injuries, we'll talk about it in a second, and they end up falling apart, that would be good as an Eagles fan. But I can't handle Washington winning the division either. That would ruin my world. Because growing up, I hated Washington just as much as Dallas because they used to kill the Eagles for a year. So anyway, the NFC East is just a complete mess right now, except for Washington, which is one of the craziest things ever.
Yeah, this has been a great story. You and I love Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
so it's been a lot of fun to watch. I've got no dog in this fight at all. I can just sort of sit on the sidelines and appreciate it and like it. I spent some time in D.C., so I know how passionate the fans are there.
Definitely.
I'm happy they finally have something good to cheer for. It's been 4 games, guys. Not to do Aaron Rodgers, RELAX, but have we crowned this dude a little bit too fast? I mean,
No.
he's off it to this unreal start. Do we really think this is it? This is his rookie year? It's going to be... I mean, C.J. Stroud has an unbelievable rookie year, but even he didn't start this fast.
He's C.J. Stroud 2.0. He's fine. I think the reason Washington fans are excited, it's a total implosion in Dallas and Philly. I mean, you really could not have a worse start. I know they're both 2-2, but look at them. They're falling apart.
Yeah, well, let's get to our Cowboy Quickie. We'll tell you what we're talking about. All right, well, not looking good here for Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. So according to the Cowboys, we know what happened. They got hurt against the Giants, but they are reportedly going to miss time. And it's possible that Micah Parsons is missing more than just the Steeler game, which happens on Sunday night this week. So they have 2 games to play, the Cowboys. Then they have a Week 7 bye. Jerry was very positive about it, said he didn't think either injury was very serious. However, they could miss multiple games, and that's a problem. That's your Cowboy Quickie for today.
Yeah, and obviously a huge problem, but they can't stop the run anyway, even with those guys. And look who they're playing. They have the Steelers this week, who are a great running team. Do you think they're going to be able to tackle Justin Fields? I don't see that happening. Then they have the Lions next week before their bye, who is probably arguably the best running team.
Yeah,
and then they got the 49ers who can run and the Falcons who can run. So I just don't see how this defense comes together, especially without DeMarcus Lawrence. And now with Parsons, if he plays, not being 100%. This seems like a problem, Mag. I'm not going to lie to you.
Listen, and we're talking about whether or not they trade for Davante Adams. I mean, that could be the least of their problems.
He won't get on the field because the other team's going to have first down after first down after first down because they can't stop the run, and they didn't do enough in this offseason.
Well, and you know what happens anytime the Cowboys get down in a game? It's just good night. Like, they cannot play from behind. It's not that kind of team, partially and mostly because they can't stop the run. So you're right. It's devolving, and your Philadelphia Eagles is no picnic right now either. The roster is talented, but nobody's playing up to, their expectation.
Nobody's
Everyone's
playing.
hurt.
Nobody's playing. I mean,
on the offense.
You can't have. Oh, well, the defense is just god awful.
Well, I thought they were supposed to be better this year with
I
the new
thought so too.
defensive
I
coordinator.
got fooled by the Saints game. I don't know what happened there. Their defense, they were the worst defense in the league second half of last year, and that defense is back. They're probably bottom 5 units in the entire NFL.
Okay, but here you started this with the question about the Commanders, right? And that this is going to be tough for you to watch.
It's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity, but you're asking a ton from a rookie quarterback because I saw this stat the other day that the Commanders have, by some metrics, the number 1 offense and the number 32 defense.
Right.
Like, you can't live that way. That is that is so wild. That's such a wild swing. And maybe as we go on, Dan Quinn is a defensive guy. We'll get that unit playing a little bit better. First, I thought I should be betting every Washington over imaginable. And secondly, like, you're asking a lot from a rookie quarterback because you're essentially going to be in shootouts in every single game because you can't stop anybody.
Well, yeah, but the Commanders' defense has improved week to week. You could look at it that way. They're learning the system.
Yeah, they were better against Arizona, but
yeah, I mean,
Arizona is also terrible.
I mean, a lot of that was the first game was just the Bucs put 1,000,000 yards up on them. But regardless, so you're going to win this division.
And the Bengals.
Yeah,
that was throw for throw.
You're going to win this division 9-8. I do not see, or 10-6, which is, by the way the NFC East used to be every year, where somebody would. This is one of those divisions where you're not going to need a lot of wins. I don't have it in front of me. I assume the Commanders have an easy schedule based on how they did last year. So, and they have a lot of Giants on there. They have injured Cowboys, injured Eagles. It's a great opportunity to get away with it here. To me, again, it's not just a function of them being good. I just think Dallas is in real trouble here. I think their defense is going to be a problem.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the offense hasn't been exactly been gangbusters either.
Their run game is bad.
Commanders' next opponent, Cleveland, then at Baltimore, Carolina, Chicago. Yeah, I mean, they've got a little Pittsburgh on here. But if it's all the pushback would come from within the division. That's the most important thing. And while these teams are down.
Baltimore's defense, except for, I guess, your Buffalo, has been pretty bad, too. So I think that Jaden could go off against them.
Yeah, thank you for that. Andrew Bokish is here with headlines. Hello.
Hello again. Headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code M&P, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Wait, I'm sorry. Before you start, I'm going to write down a number, and I'm going to put it right here on this paper. And I'm not going to tell you what I think what this number represents. And then at the end of the update, we'll see if the number's anywhere close to what I thought. Continue.
As I mentioned last hour, the first 3 road teams won wild card games yesterday, but then the Padres finally protected home field.
First pitch, Tatis swings, sends it in the air, very high to left, very deep. Laureano is back. You got to be kidding me. A long home run. First pitch, first at bat. 2-0.
Jesse Agler on Padres radio. Fernando Tatis Jr., a 2-run homer before Braves starter A.J. Smith-Shawver recorded an out. Padres starter Michael King did most of the rest of the work. 7 shutout innings, no walks, 5 hits, and 12 Ks for a 4-0 win. After the Tigers and Royals won in Houston and Baltimore, the Mets rallied for an 8-4 win in Milwaukee, scoring 5 in the 5th after the Brewers pulled starter Freddie Peralta after just 68 pitches.
It's not the first time. It happens in the past too. I don't understand the reason that I was took out of the game, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Manager Pat Murphy said they didn't want Peralta to face the Met lineup for a 3rd time. He gave up 2 runs in the 2nd, but had 1, 2, 3 innings in the 3rd and the 4th, and then came out of the game, and basically all hell broke loose for the Brewers. Today's schedule again begins with the Astros hosting those Tigers at 1:30 Central. The WNBA champs are almost done. The Aces down 0-2 in their best-of-5 semi after an 88-84 loss at the Liberty. Becky Hammond says her team has just not been good enough.
I'm not mad at the officials. I'm not mad at the New York Liberty. I'm mad at us because of the amount of layups we're giving up. And it was a thing in the first game. It's been a thing in the second game. And if it's going to be a thing in the third, we're not going to win. They're too good.
No team has recovered from an 0-2 hole in league history. Only one has even forced a decisive Game 5.
My Liberty, by the way.
No.
Yeah, right.
Come on now.
Where do they play? What borough?
No, we're not doing this.
No.
Oh, I've been a Sabrina Ionesco fan for years.
Her name's Ionescu, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They play 10 minutes from my house. I can jump on this bandwagon.
It's way too late. Also, this should be a note to the Chiefs. It's hard to three-peat. We know that. Is there any lessons they can take from the Aces? It's hard to three-peat. The Aces don't look like they're going to be able to three-peat. This is what I'm saying.
No, take the L out of Lover. It's over for the Aces.
The Lynx avoided that 0-2 hole with a 77-70 home win over the Sun. Browns D lineman Mike Hall gets a 5-game suspension after pleading no contest to reduce charges stemming from a domestic violence incident over the summer. Hall's been on the commissioner's exempt list, so he gets credit for that. He just has to miss this weekend's game, then returns to the active roster. Texas State is staying in the Sun Belt, declining an invite from the Mountain West, who still needs an 8th full-time member to meet NCAA requirements. And NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman said yesterday the league will start CBA talks with the Players Union in early 2025. Their current agreement expires in September 2026. Bettman says they are optimistic about keeping labor peace. All right, numbers lady.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. You know, speaking of labor peace, you warned us, and this is a non-sports thing, about the dock workers.
Yes.
And the longshoremen, right?
Yeah.
And there's like, they're going on strike, or they went on strike, and this is a big deal.
Right. So what's happening? I saw a headline that Biden may or may not get involved with this.
I mean, I think he's going to have to. Again, we're a little out of our depth on this one, but this is dock workers and longshoremen who are responsible for getting all this cargo off of ships. They don't want like AI and robots and stuff taking any of their jobs, which we totally understand. And so now they're going on strike, and it's like, well, we got the holidays coming up, and that's where a lot of these
The entire Eastern Seaboard can't unload a ship. Not
seems
ideal.
like a problem.
Yes.
Seems like you're running in trouble for that.
Yeah.
By the way, before we get to that number as well, I want to circle back on the WNBA thing. So Perloff, the Philly is trying to get a WNBA team.
I know, but they don't have it yet.
All right, but are you going to jump off? You can't. If you're on the Liberty bandwagon, you're on. You can't go to the Philly, whatever they're going to call them, because they're going to get a team at some point.
Well, I was actually thinking about this. I'm renting the bandwagon until Philly gets a team. I thought maybe that'd be an out.
No, come on. That's
renting the bandwagon. I mean, how little commitment can you possibly get? You're not even on the bandwagon. You're just renting on the bandwagon.
I was actually thinking, and EJ's right. There's a lot of discussion about a WNBA team in Philly. I was thinking that maybe the Liberty would be my one New York team because they play so close to my house.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's if the Liberty weren't so great, I would say maybe I would allow this. I am okay. I want you to join the Miami bandwagon. I'm still on that.
The Canes?
Yes.
Favorite team as a kid. Everybody loved Miami.
So I'm like, come to that. But the problem is the WNBA, the Liberty are a super team.
They were in the finals last year.
Yeah, they're in the finals last year.
It's jumping on the 49ers.
Yeah, come on.
Well, I mean, listen.
Now.
I'll take the fever.
This little team that no one ever talks about.
Yeah. Give me if I'm not allowed, Philly doesn't have a team yet, and the Liberty, that's off limits. Then give me Caitlin Clark. Might as well.
You know the WNBA team that just expanded. Remember the Valkyries?
Yes,
cool
the
name.
Warriors team.
Right in San Francisco. I mean, the bar has been set very high for what the name could be in Philadelphia. You got to come up with something real cool.
That's official.
Yeah, the Valkyries.
Yes. Oh, I'm a fan of that team. That is awesome.
It's like a goldfish.
He's picked 4 WNBA teams in a matter of 2 minutes.
And how would you want him on your Miami side? Just for numbers?
Yeah.
There's no commitment. There's no help.
To argue with me about Hail Marys.
Wait.
Exactly.
College football, you're allowed to root for multiple teams. That's just a fact. There's just too many of them. You
but
can't
not in
just
the
have
same
one
weekend. You jump around like nobody's business.
Perloff's the village bicycle, man.
Maggie and I grew up without college football teams in our neighborhood. We're allowed to root for whoever we want.
Isn't Penn State a Philly team, though?
Yeah, you're right. I grew
up right near Syracuse.
I have to be honest. I was a hardcore Penn State fan, and then things took a turn for the South.
Oh, that was tough.
Understandable.
Yeah, that you had permission to jump off that bandwagon.
And I'm talking about Christian Hackenberg.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's what we were all thinking of.
That was rough, too.
I wrote down a number. And it was before Bogus started the update. And I said, I'm not going to say what the number is, but I wrote down a number, and the number was 3. And I thought that was going to be the over-under set on prostate jokes that Bogus was going to mention in the update, because Perloff asked me earlier today, do women have prostates? And everyone got quiet. Because no, we don't. Yeah. And I thought everyone kind of knew that. But maybe the Ivy League schools don't have the curriculum they used to have.
Liberal arts.
But
if Manny was here, he'd blame liberals.
I think a lot of people do not know, and we can't talk about it now because it's adult and kind of gross, what the prostate actually does. I think that's a
fine.
fair thing.
Yes, we've agreed with you from the beginning on that. The stunner was the hey Mags, how's your prostate?
I didn't say how's your prostate. I just want to make sure.
Thank you. Yeah. Knowing whether you have one is one thing. Knowing what it does. Yeah.
Go get your prostate checked, people.
This is your.
That's the bottom line. I'm drawing attention.
Yes, men only.
I'm drawing attention.
Men, sorry.
Women don't go and be like, can you check my. Anyway, we know we don't have one. I know what I have and what I don't have. The fact that Perloff didn't know is a little surprising. Also, you have 2 daughters.
I mean, listen, if it's not, I care about my own personal health.
Right.
Listen.
You're not responsible for anyone else.
I'm getting myself checked. Whatever is going on with you, I don't want to know.
Thank you for your concern. Anyway, that's what the number was. But you give 0.
I gave 0. I have others. They're percolating. I got a couple, but they take some time.
Unlike a prostate exam, which I think can be done pretty quickly.
It's very brief, thankfully.
And you should do it today.
Yes.
You can, or as soon as possible. All right, we got to go. Thank you, Bogish. Coming up, lots more to do. Today's a Wednesday, which means we do the great debate. That is at the top of the hour. We've got some college stuff for you today. Perloff's got questions. And the one thing we have not answered about the number 1 Super Bowl contender. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and you hanging out on this very, very busy Wednesday. The Davante Adams stuff has totally taken over. But Pearl, can I bring your attention to something else that I saw yesterday?
Yes.
Our pal and your pal, Jordan Schultz. You know him?
Yeah.
Reporting yesterday, or maybe earlier this week, that Doug Peterson has already lost to the locker room.
Yeah.
Now, EJ brought up a good point about Davante Adams, and maybe the Jags would make a move, right? Desperate team. You're 0-4. The offense, has been lackluster. Trevor Lawrence looks bad. I say broken. It's not Deshaun Watson, but doesn't look very good at all. You paid him all this money. But if Doug Peterson has already lost the locker room, and that was according to Jordan Schultz, saying he's talked to multiple people, do you make this kind of investment if you feel like you're on the verge of maybe making another big change? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you do. But by the way, he lost the locker room. I can't imagine Doug Peterson ever had that locker room.
Well, he's a Super Bowl winning head coach
Yeah,
who comes in after Urban Meyer. I mean, the bar could not have been lower.
I'm not sure that he needs the right situation where there's a locker room that's easy to have. He's not like he's not like a Belichick type. Like, he's not going to come in there and get everyone in ship shape. I think he was the opposite of Urban Meyer. So this doesn't surprise me. I think there was a little bad luck in Jacksonville. Like, I think
this year,
I think that they should have won that Miami game, and I think that was like a devastating blow to lose that game.
Yeah, but you got to be able to rebound from that. It's week 1. You got 17 weeks in an NFL season. They're just a terrible fourth quarter team.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a great overall team, but if you're going to lose your close games like that, then it's going to be bad. So I think they're actually not a bad team. I think they could be easily like a 7-8 win team. I don't know if they get there. They have a lot of talent. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is nearly as bad as. I think his expectations are so high that he doesn't meet those, but he's definitely a competent quarterback. I think Travis Etienne can be spectacular. Tank Bigsby was running so hard on Sunday. Like, there's definitely talent there. Trayvon Walker he's another disappointment, but he's not as bad as people say. Josh Allen, like, there's talent there. I just think that they're not quite there. Like, they can't have bad breaks, and they've been getting them. They'll get good breaks. Trust me, they're going to win some games. EJ and I were trying to convince you that the other day. They're going to be a dangerous team later on. I
don't know if I see it, but this could end up being a lost season. But tanking does nothing for them, obviously, because you've already paid Trevor Lawrence. They've had multiple number 1 overall picks, back to back, in fact. Yeah, the Doug Peterson losing the locker room, that's never one you want to hear. Okay, let's get to Aaron Rodgers.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Now, here's what we're talking about. When we created this segment, it wasn't to talk about football. Anyone can do that. It's to talk about the weird stuff Rodgers says during some of the interviews that he gives. Now, this one occurred on the Pat McAfee Show yesterday. And Aaron Rodgers was asked about his relationship with Robert Saleh. But, Perloff, you remember that clip where Saleh's going for the hug and Rodgers pushes him away with two hands?
Yep.
Rodgers explained that.
I, pushed Saleh on the field. Realized after the game, he's a hugger, but he's a tapper. He gives you 3 taps. That's enough. And we all know people like that. So it's you live and you learn, and you got to adjust on the fly. And I feel like I did a pretty good job at that. When I thought he was a 2-hand push guy, like a push. Then I realized no, he actually wants a hug, but not a long hug.
That's the important thing.
I still don't understand this, and so why do you push him away before he even got in there?
This makes so much sense to me now.
Explain.
Robert Saleh, he didn't think he was a hug guy. He thought he was a 2-hand push guy. We're pumping each other up. We just got off the field. We got a 2-score lead. And Rodgers didn't understand Saleh actually did want a hug, but he doesn't want a long hug. Hips to the side, 3 taps, and then you're out.
But he did say that Saleh was a 3-tap guy, so he's aware of how he hugged.
Right, but I think in that instance, he thought it was more of a push you on the sideline, pump you up kind of thing.
I think it's a mixed message out of Aaron Rodgers here. Because
Rodgers or Saleh?
No, Rodgers. I think Rodgers was aware that there was a 3-tap hug in the ether. He knew that Saleh would sometimes go. I think this is an excuse. I think he's trying to talk his way out of this.
I mean, just could have been a miscommunication. You guys are weird with how you show affection.
Trust me, there's no more awkward situation like for example, Super Bowl week, which is a convention in the sports industry. Is this a handshake? Is this a bro hug? Is this a flat out hug? It's so stressful as a male. You have no idea, Maggie.
Facts.
I get 1/10 of that stress because I don't know. Also, sometimes people want to hug.
Right, but you don't have. See, we have an extra option, and I think that's what Rodgers. There's this sort of bro hug.
Yes, women don't do that.
And actually, during a football game, the punching each other in the chest. So there's a 4th option. I mean, listen, it's like I know Peyton Manning was great at audibles, but Rodgers is coming to the sideline. He's got 4 plays to go to. He's got a complicated hug tree right here, and he has to make a choice. That is not easy. I know Aaron Rodgers is good thinking on his feet, so. I get it. I actually am not going to kill Rodgers for this. Even after that, it's hard to explain. That was a tough situation.
Well, he also went on to explain all the different hug strategies of every single coach. So he's like, I got another coach who comes in for the hug and doesn't let go. And then looks you in the eye and says something kind of motivated, then gives you a whisper in the ear and then moves on. I'm like,
well, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, and then
you might want to talk to HR about that, coach.
And he reads you a bedtime story and then you crawl in together. I kind of get this. I do feel bad at some point for men. You guys are going through something here, but you also speak a different language with each other about, like, women, you never really, like, push each other. Like, I would never think, even if I was playing sports, I don't think I would ever push another woman in like,
also,
celebration.
There's just hit a guy in the arm. There's that, too. Like, hey, buddy, and you hit him in the arm.
Yeah.
Or slap him on the back.
And you guys also, you hit each other in all different types of spots.
Facts. That's true, too.
We've had a lot of prostate talk today. That's probably the only place you don't hit each other.
How about in the office? I don't know if you guys, is there anybody that you hug here when you see them? Because I got a good fist bump rhythm going with our boss, Ryan Hurley. We're fist bumpers.
Yeah.
And it's comforting. We both know it's coming. It's a nice way of saying hello in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think you probably can't hug the boss as a woman here.
No, unless it's like something like congratulations
or
something like that. Then that would be appropriate. But I don't really fist bump people either. I don't
you should
fist
add
bump
it to your
women.
repertoire. It's very hygienic.
Yeah.
Fist bump it's one of the greatest inventions for men because handshake can go terribly, especially if you go handshake into the fist bump, the famous turkey as it's called. That's the worst. I would introduce fist bumping.
What if the roles reverse, though? Like, you go for the fist bump, and then someone, like, grabs your closed fist.
Yeah, that has a name, too. What's that called?
I don't know.
It's bad.
Paper beats rock. That's what it's called.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a little moist, too. Like,
Oof.
I think, in the post-COVID era, too, handshakes, a lot going on there.
The only thing I don't like about the fist bump is I feel like if someone extends their hand, you shouldn't then give them a fist. I take offense to that a little bit.
Right. Someone extends their hand, you shake it.
They're saying you're
puts hand
gross.
sanitizer on your hand
like,
later on.
Shake the hand. Or even just do like tap. Like, you don't got to even do There's variations of a handshake. I don't like I extend my hand and you give me a fist.
But football has a whole different side. This is a league where the commissioner hits all his players and all his coworkers in the rear. That's his famous thing. He's a rear slapper. And he's everywhere. We had Ani Bosa. That's what Roger Goodell does around the office. So football has a whole different set of rules. Sorry.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
His knees in pain, but he's still hustling, bringing the game. Peter Schwartz, slow and bumbling by, with a hip replacement from an old Studebaker ride. OEJ with his injured knee, still crushing Schwartz so easily. Pickleball champ, he's on a spree while Bulletti's home as usual absentee. Schwartz is swinging, but he's out of tune. Studebaker hip creaks like an old cartoon. EJ's finesse got him looking stuck. Bulletti's still missing, so what the duck? Oh, EJ with his injured knee, still crushing Schwartz so easily.
Won the game, Malik Willis led the way, throwing downs and running fast, make defenders pay. But we all know the real story ain't the win or play. It's Bellotti steak, back day, he'll dodge another day with the meat. Beat, we're all stopping here. Promised us some advice, but you always disappear. Stakes on the line, but you're off the grid. The lights MIA, man, he always hit. Some ribeyes, but you always disappear. Stakes on the line, but you're off the grid. Well, now he's MIA, man, he always hit. Showing up to work, no, that's not his style. Nah, that's not his style. He's out on a vacation, gonna take a while. He bet us stakes, but we'll never get our share, cause we'll...
In 5 seconds.
Stakes on the line, but you're off the grid. Pilates MIA, man, he always hit. Packers won, but we won't win this fight. Pilates stakes, I'll never see the light.
Busy day around here. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You have Davante Adams and the Raiders could be headed towards a divorce. We are trying to find the next landing spot for Davante Adams. We have our thoughts on that. We also have a Steelers quarterback situation, which is one that's worth monitoring as Russell Wilson may be amping things back up. Are you all right over there? What's going on?
We have a major issue.
What is happening with you?
So
did you just spill something?
No.
Oh, yeah, you did. Wait, did you?
No, my earbuds just got caught up in my chair. I can't get it out.
That's it. No headphones for you?
Well, no headphones, which wouldn't be a problem, except we're doing a cast-wide show. No, because I can hear you, which is the most important thing. So I'd be happy to talk about Davante Adams, but I know we're about to do the great debate.
Yes, we are.
So I want to hear the other people's choices.
I swear, sometimes it's like doing a show with Kramer. You know?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that.
Like how? I expect you to just barrel through. Now EJ is in here. Now I got to do play-by-play. Now EJ is in the studio
Nico,
unraveling Perloff's headphones from
the
chair. The wheel of the chair. Bogus, you're more of a play-by-play guy. You want to jump in on this?
He
got it out.
Oh, that was easy.
Free.
Okay, it's over. EJ's going to hobble out.
Well, I want to be careful. I didn't want to rip it because if I ripped off the end of the headphone, then I wouldn't be able to hear the great choices for our great debate.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Can I ask you something just about your day-to-day, Pearl?
Yeah. How do you get through it?
It's a version of that. But specifically, and I'm worried about you a little bit. You're not a clumsy person. You're actually a very good athlete. We see you playing basketball all the time. You put it on your social media. Only the makes.
Sounds like a dig, but go ahead.
No, you play basketball. You land at the doctors half the time, but you are a good athlete. You played basketball at Dartmouth on the JV team.
Yeah.
You're the best athlete in the room.
A guy said to me the other day, the fall basketball season hasn't started until Perloff gets injured. And I got injured in week 1.
I know, but it's always like a pinky finger or a toe. It's thankfully, knock on wood, it's nothing major.
You could a grade 2 sprain of the MCL is nothing major, Maggie?
Oh, that was you skiing. It's just like all bets are off with you on skis. But this is the funny part. So if you've ever visited New York City or you think about New York City, there's just a lot of perils on the sidewalk. Like you can fall into things. There's like a lot of what do you call those, where it's like a trap door that's like on the sidewalk where restaurants and stuff put their right, like it's storage underneath. I'm trying to say here, there's storage underneath a lot of buildings, especially restaurants. You have to be paying attention because these sort of trap doors open all the time as people are unloading and loading things from trucks. How do you not fall into one of those like daily?
Well, my anxiety over those doors, like I'm one of those people who is just like will not walk anywhere near those things.
But you're on your phone all the time, like you're always kind of losing stuff.
But if you live in New York and you know those trapdoors, like there's certain people, like I avoid them like the plague. I see them from a mile away and start planning my walk around those things because I'm afraid that's how I'm going to die.
Yeah, I'm worried for you.
Oh, I would say...
Because again, you're not clumsy necessarily, but sometimes you do give off like a little bit of a Kramer vibe there. And I do it too sometimes, but your headphones getting caught in the chair.
I totally know what you mean. It's like little things like that. But I would say on the street, I'm not one of those jerks who's looking at his phone and walks into the bike lane.
Okay, good for you.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
I'm also too, like, I'm the one person more than any of you who's driven around the city. Like
Yes, your head is up. On a swivel.
Yeah. Like I feel like I navigate the city pretty well. I know what you mean. It's more the office stuff that really gets me. Like spilling this coffee right here. There's 65% chance it will be spilled.
And somehow we'll get all over everything.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hopefully not my computer. No, that's accurate. But I'm actually pretty safe walker because I have kids too.
Yeah, you got to be.
And
careful.
I'm sadly a bit of an umbrella parent.
Well, it's all right.
Yeah. It's not great. They don't appreciate it. They're like, Dad, I'm looking at the traffic. Anyway, no, you're right. But I don't even know how we got here. My headphones are fine. Bogus, you came in here expecting a total tragedy, and it wasn't that bad.
I expected nothing. I walked in, I saw you and the chair in the air, and EJ bent over. Prostates. I didn't know what was going on.
I mean, EJ tore 2 different tendons in his knee.
Bent over.
Come over and try to unhook that. Anyway, it's Wednesday. Let's do the great debate.
The Great Debate Series.
All right, we know this one's loosely based on the news. Our great debate every Wednesday at this time. So, in honor of Pete Rose passing away yesterday, 83, 2 days ago, the athlete who had the most hustle, who is the greatest grit player, right? The person who got way more maybe out of their career than they ever should have. Somebody who personified what it meant to be a hustle player. Yeah. That is the great debate for today.
I need to go last.
Oh, you have to go last.
I have a curveball. I have a curveball that only makes sense after you guys make your obvious choices. I will win this debate at the end. I'm going to come in, swoop in with the right answer.
Wow, very confident for somebody who had his headphones wrapped around a chair leg 5 seconds ago. Well, then let's start on me, because sometimes you just don't reinvent the wheel, you know? You want to tell the story of an all-time hustle player, you go with Pete Rose. That is my selection. I don't care if it's 2 on the nose. This is the guy who deserves it. He played more games than anyone else in the history of baseball. We know that he got every ounce out of his career. Charlie Hustle started as a pejorative, something where he's, I wash, you're running to first base on a walk. But he took it and he embodied it and he made it a positive. Now, sometimes Charlie Hustle went a little too hard. Like in the 1970 All-Star game, 12th inning, a collision at home plate.
And right into the stretch. Looking back and throws up the middle. Rose is on his way around. Picked up by Otis. Rose is coming to the plate. Throws a throw. He's in. It's all over. The National League wins.
Yeah, didn't exactly tell the story with that call. Where basically barrels over Ray Fosse. It was a horrible collision, and it was one that probably should never happen in an exhibition game.
Maggie, you don't have to sell it. His name is Charlie Hustle.
Okay, got it. There we go. Pete Rose is my selection. Let's go to EJ.
Okay, so when we think about hustle, Pete Rose is an excellent choice, but I want to go with a guy who is synonymous for when on the basketball court, laying it all on the line like this.
Kerr on the run. Rodman battling for the rebound, saving it in. And Kerr snatches it out of the air and drills it.
Now that's winning basketball. Those are the plays that Dennis Rodman does to make his team great. No other player in the game can do that play right now. Dives into the stands, risks his body. Awesome.
Dennis Rodman, everybody knows the image. Dennis Rodman, full extension, leaping to the stands. That could have been in 1988. That could have been 1992. That could have been 1996, which I believe was the year that this happened. That is vintage Dennis Rodman saving a play, getting the Bulls another possession. Dennis Rodman, obviously, maybe the greatest rebounder ever. Only 6'7", 6'8". You want to talk about getting the most and just outworking guys on the court? Dennis Rodman did that on the regular basis. Not to mention, maybe the greatest defensive player of all time. Dennis Rodman, my pick for greatest hustle player.
Fantastic.
Pretty good.
I love it. It's a great selection. Not better than mine, but
you're so right, Pete. In San Antonio, he was that guy too.
Yep.
Towards the very, I feel like the only downside of him is all the other stuff off the court. Like
I just picked Pete Rose.
Yeah,
but out of jail.
But you don't think of a guy who's getting married to Carmen Electra on MTV as like a hustle guy, but that's his entire game.
Yeah, or a guy wearing wedding dresses.
Yeah, right.
Hustle guy, but this guy, I mean,
his game was different than his personality. His game was pure grit.
And I think some of that stuff was also to get in guys' heads too. Because it was like, I'm getting beat by a guy who was, again, in a wedding dress yesterday. Like, what, or was that a wrestling event? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Just a maniac. The worm.
The greatest hustle player of all time. That's the great debate. Nico, who's your pick?
So when I think of effort, I think of players that can really just do it all. And that's what I think of when I think of Troy Polamalu.
Flacco in the shotgun, drops the throws over the middle, intercepted by Polamalu at the 40 near side, 35 at the 30. He's at the 25 running to his right side. He's picking up some free space on the far side at the 20, 15, 10, 5. He's in, touchdown. Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl.
His famous pick six against the Baltimore Ravens in the 2008 AFC Championship game, and the hair was flowing when he's running down the sidelines to send the Steelers to the Super Bowl.
It's a great pick. Troy Polamalu inspired Nico. I like it. Andrew Bogusch.
This is a tough one to figure out. My first thought for some reason yesterday was Matthew Dellavedova.
Sure.
But I wanted to find somebody
Put
who...
himself in the hospital.
Right. But I wanted to find somebody who was a good player and hustled. And Dellavedova was a good player, but he was not a great player. A guy that simultaneously had the stats, also willing to sacrifice a prostate or other internal organ for his team. So I landed on a baseball player, very good player, but he was small in stature, so he had to play tough and smart.
There goes Pedroia. Ortiz takes the throw to second base. Safe. And taken off for third is Pedroia. He'll get there. Nobody covered the bag. The shift was on. Heads up base running for Dustin Pedroia.
Heart and soul of those Red Sox teams. Dustin Pedroia, second baseman, tiny guy, played hard, played smart, played well.
It's great. I was just thinking that funny story where Big Papi didn't know his name. He thought his name was like Pee Wee or something.
I think he thought his name was Petey because that was his nickname. He thought that was his first name. So when I'm trying to remember what it was, Ortiz's jersey ceremony or something.
Yeah.
They introduced Dustin Pedroia, and he was like,
"Who's that?"
Yeah,
no. He's like, "I hit
Yeah.
in front of you for like 5 years." They announced my name. Yeah. Anyway, that's a great one. All right. Now, Perloff's making big claims. We're asking who is the greatest hustle player of all time. It's our great debate. Perloff wants to go last because he said we'll all go and then he'll give the correct answer. Now the floor is yours.
I don't even want to pick a player. I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you about an undersized kid out of Joliet, Illinois. I want to tell you about someone who they said would never make it. But through hustle, through hard work, through befriending a janitor apparently, through getting to know John Favreau, his tutor, Rudy Rudiger was the greatest hustle player ever. Daniel Eugene Rudiger, who famously played for Notre Dame in 1975, had no talent at all, was 5'6", $150. He looked like Nico. And he was out there playing linebacker against Georgia Tech in the final game in 1975. And he had maybe the most famous sack in college football history. Got carried off by his teammates. That dude had no talent. Therefore, had all the hustle. And I just want one word on that poll that we put up on Maggie and Pearl on X. Rudy.
Well, I got to tell you, it's just occurred to me what the student body has been chanting for the last 2 or 3 minutes. It's the name Rudy. Dan Rudy, a walk-on senior, subject of a feature article in yesterday's student newspaper, The Observer. After toiling for 2 years at Carnegie Field and go get it, kid!
Give me a moment. One of the greatest moments in sports movie history. And did you know my favorite part about that movie that Vince Vaughn was the running? Vince Vaughn was the running back. Vince Vaughn and John Favreau became good friends and kind of wrote Swingers together, which is one of the great movies of all time. So I also get the coolness of Swingers in mind. Rudy is the greatest hustle player of all time.
Best football movie ever, right?
I mean, it
Ooh.
depends.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, remember the Titans?
If you were gonna, I know Rudy Rudiger was real. I've met him. I've interviewed him. He's
Yeah,
a
I
real
knew you had
person who walks around with the signed photos of himself being carried off the field. If you ever encounter him in like a airport or something, you can totally ask him for a photo. He's got him right there, and he's a gentleman of a man. But if you were gonna go with a movie script, I'm surprised you didn't just go with Rocky. Just make it all fake.
Well, no,
Because I don't know if the Rudy Rudiger story happened the way that everyone says it happened.
It didn't.
Like Joe Montana said it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. Why don't you ask Rudy Allen whether it happened? The Georgia Tech quarterback who got taken down by Dan Rudiger in 1975. It happened. It's not Rocky. It really happened. He really got carried off by the Notre Dame. And also, too, like he's quite famous. There's a Rudy Award that rewards football character. It's a real thing.
Yeah. No, it's a great selection. I actually did. I don't want to even admit it, but I did get goosebumps a little bit. It's the soundtrack of that movie, and the janitor always gets me, and the dad. My kids go to Notre Dame. I don't even root for Notre Dame.
I know. Nico, by the way, you just brought up a future great debate. Is it the greatest football movie? And there aren't a lot of great football movies, so it's not like baseball. Is it considered the greatest football movie?
I think it's a lot of people's top 5.
Because there aren't any Given Sunday was weird.
Look, The Blind Side was pretty good.
Oh, geez, Louise.
Talk about fiction.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Since the lawsuits have come out from Michael Oher. Yeah. Anyway, I should have gone Rocky though. That probably could have won too.
855-212-4227. It's inspired. We're asking you, who is the greatest hustle player of all time, the greatest hustle athlete of all time? And got some good selections. I'm a little surprised that nobody picked one guy. I'm going to save it for a second. I thought this would definitely be the person that somebody would go with. Meanwhile, John is in Boise. Let's hit the phones. John, who's the greatest hustle player of all time?
For me, it's got to be Ronnie Lott. I mean, Nico might not know this, but he crushed his finger, against Dallas and chose to have it amputated so he could come back faster. And that guy was all over the field everywhere.
God, you're right. I mean, Ronnie Lott is a great choice. He comes up often in these great debates, John.
Bit too talented, maybe. That's the only downside. Like, he was also the best safety, one of the best that ever played.
So that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like, can these hustle guys also be one of the greatest players? Now, I picked Pete Rose because this was inspired by him. Now, he's not one of the greatest players of all time in terms of pure talent, but he is.
He's the hit king, though, and that wasn't hustle.
And an MVP, and a Rookie of the Year, and a batting champ, and I can go on and on and on.
Killer hitter. Troy Polamalu was pretty talented, too.
Troy Polamalu was amazing.
But I think, you know what Nico's advantage is? That hair hustled. I mean, it was flying everywhere.
The hustle meant more because of the hair?
I know you're teasing. I need to know who was the obvious person we missed, because I agree with Bogus. There were not a lot of, it's not so consistency.
There's one player who fits this to a T.
Yeah, Charlie Hustle. You picked him.
No, we'll get to the other guy in a more modern example.
You're going to tease. All right, are you going to tell us in the break at least?
No. You guys will find out when the audience finds out. The greatest hustle athlete of all time. That's your great debate. 855-212-4227. YouTube.com/Infinity Sportsnet. Twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. And on X at Maggie Gray. You can download the Odyssey app. It's free. It's crystal clear. It's recommended. Sirius XM Channel 158. Another great way to find the show. I'm curious to know how your prize picks went last night, Perloff.
Let's move on to your prize picks.
Mine were great. Baseball season has been awesome for me on Prize Picks. And if you guys don't know, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you watch baseball or football or a combination of the two. So here's what happens. You download the app. You pick 2 or more players across any sport. Then you pick more or less on their projection, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks is what you need this time of year specifically.
And they even invented the Flex Pay, where you can still cash out even if one of your picks doesn't hit, which happened to me last night. Okay, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code MNP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. It's really one of the many sad things about me is I really enjoy when I win Twitter/X poll. We have one up. What's the best fit for Davante Adams? And I said the Jets, and that is blowing away the competition. I think everyone thinks that the Jets and Aaron Rodgers makes the most sense, which means it probably won't happen the way NFL is. But we have to put up a new poll. EJ, what are the choices? The great debate today is the greatest hustle player in sports history. Who did you have on as an option?
It's always a tough decision because someone's got to get left off, unfortunately, because X only gives you 4 choices. So it is between Pete Rose, Rudy, because that's what Perloff asked for, just one name, didn't want the full name.
You didn't put Rudiger on there?
No, you got to put
I asked him twice.
I mean, people know it from the movie.
I asked him again to make sure.
People might not know Rudiger. They
definitely know Rudy, yeah.
I'm curious how this is going to work out. I don't think it's going to work out well for Pearl, but
I think Pete Rose is the front runner. But go ahead.
And then we have Dennis Rodman and then Dustin Pedroia. So sadly, Troy Polamalu did not make it onto this one. Sorry.
You guys are afraid of the hair. That's what it is.
I feel like somehow Troy Polamalu is going to jump, barge to the door of the studio and go over the top and knock us out.
Well, these days, he'll say, hey, you want some Head and Shoulders?
Yeah.
Which we would also take.
I'm very curious. This is an interesting battle between Pete Rose and Dennis Rodman. Those are 2 high-profile names. Sorry, Dustin Pedroia, bogus' choice. I don't feel like that's going to come away the victor.
Well, I mean, it's a good selection. They're all good. You can go to at Maggie Gray, at Maggie and Perloff, on X, and you can vote. At Maggie Gray is where you can watch the show live if you want to. See what we look like. There's one person. So we had a caller who said Ronnie Lott. We see you guys on the phone, so we'll get to him in 1 second. There's one person I think you're forgetting, or I'm surprised you didn't select. Now, EJ was closest, I thought, with Dennis Rodman, but is Draymond Green not that hustle guy? I mean, as a more modern, Rodman was a totally different, but Draymond Green is a second-round pick. All the little things that he does to make the Warriors and to contribute in such a huge way to that dynasty. Doesn't Draymond Green have to be on this list?
Is he a loose ball guy? I feel like I'm picturing Draymond Green. He stands at the top of the key and distributes like crazy. Like he's an overachiever, which is related to hustling, and he's a glue guy. So I don't know if all 3 of those things are overachiever, glue guy, and hustle the same thing.
Yes.
I don't know. I think there's subtle distinctions.
You don't think that Draymond Green has gotten every ounce out of whatever his career was projected to be coming out of Michigan State? He has far exceeded that.
Well, and actually, when there's a loose, I think the thing about Rodman, when there's a loose ball, he's going to go after like a maniac. That's not the first thing that comes to mind with me with Draymond Green. He probably does. But I feel like he's more of a selfless, I don't need to shoot the ball kind of everything guy. I don't think of him as necessarily just a hustle guy.
Well, then Marcus Smart should be the answer then.
Well,
because
Marcus
nobody flails around going after a loose ball.
Well, there is a hustle award. The NBA has one. Marcus Smart has won it more than anybody.
Yeah, I know. And if you actually dig into the metrics, there's guys who are better, but he wins it because he's like all over the place.
Dig into the metrics of what?
Of hustle plays.
Oh, God.
I've got some podcasts that I can turn you on to.
Who is taking that metric? Like, give me a break. That is so subjective.
Tom Haberstroh. Dana's in California has a thought. The great debate today, the greatest hustle player of all time. Who is it, Dana?
Good morning, you guys. I love waking up to you every morning. It's great. Maggie, you're just dreamy. The greatest hustle player in all time, Spud Webb, shortest guy to play in the NBA, was even in the slam dunk contest. That's hustle right there.
It's a good choice, Dana. I like it. I didn't think of Spud Webb just because he's the smallest. Does that mean that he gets the hustle?
Yeah. I get it. Totally understand where he's coming from. But, I mean, you say Spud Webb, I immediately think of the picture of him in the slam dunk contest. He must be 75 inches in the air. It's the craziest thing. Huge fan. Any excuse to bring up Spud Webb or Muggsy Bogues, I'm down with.
I was going to say, if you're going to go small hustle player, I feel like Bogues makes more sense because he was a pit bull defensively. Like guarding guys way taller than him, getting steals, throwing his body in there, even though he's 5'3", he was actually smaller than Spud Webb. Spud Webb, I think of actually more of like an offensive player.
What about Gary Payton? Is he the better? He's obviously not short like that, but is he the better version of
He's the best defensive player in terms of perimeter. I don't know if I think of hustle, though.
He's wildly talented,
Yeah,
too.
he's very talented. It does bring me something that Perloff said, too, because I agree that Draymond definitely is a hustle player. But when I think of Draymond, I think of him like defense, guarding somebody. If that's the first thing I think about, does that relate to hustle? Like, I feel like if I'm thinking of hustle, I'm thinking of guys getting loose balls. That's the first thing I'm doing.
Yeah, and Draymond might be that
he
guy.
He does do that, but I don't know if I don't think
he's doing it, and he's kicking somebody in the junk while he's doing it. Although Rodman did that too, famously to a cameraman who sued him.
Draymond's he's still effective. He's too old to get down there on the court too. Like he's not time. There's no way Draymond's going for loose balls now.
We're assuming in the prime.
I watched the Warriors last year. He stands in one place the entire time. He is definitely conserving energy.
We have some really good options from the chat, youtube.com/infinitysportsnet and twitch.tv/infinitysportsnetwork. Seeing some Allen Iverson from James and a couple other people. Allen Iverson is an all-time hustle player. Yes. When I think of Iverson, it's the talent. It's how fast he was. He was just so fast.
He can't be an MVP and be a hustle player. He's too good.
Right. That's the great debate today, the greatest hustle player of all time. And then Chuck saying Minnesota Fats, which is kind of funny.
So if you can't be an MVP, then like Pete Rose can't be an answer.
Right. Because he also won the MVP.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
I just don't think Iverson is the example. He's
hustle
gritty. It still didn't supersede his talent.
I would say that he's more gritty than hustle.
I agree. I think of heart when I think of Allen Iverson. I don't know if I think hustle.
Daly's in the chat says Michael Chang. That's a good one. Michael Chang, the tennis player, was a baseline player, returned everything, but yeah, hustle player, a little bit different. Adrian is in Maryland. Adrian, who's the greatest hustle player of all time?
I want to say he's the greatest hustle player. You got to pick somebody that's less talented, that overcame things. He goes with Gonzaga, John Stockton, Utah Jazz.
Stockton's a good one. It really is. What? Why?
He was really talented.
You can be talented and have hustle.
I think as we're having the discussion, I think talent and hustle are kind of diametrically opposed. Because we're saying guys who use hustle to overcome a deficit of talent, like Daniel Rudiger.
Oh, there it is.
It all comes back.
But you guys do know what I'm saying. When you say hustle player, you mean that kind of implies that he doesn't have a world of talent.
Yeah, but your guy, while he worked his butt off, was gifted with 2 plays at the end of a game.
Three.
He wasn't on the team all the time, playing an actual role.
Bogus. Come on.
Hey, Perloff, I got a fixing guy for you.
Hit
I
me.
don't know if you guys ever seen the movie. It's an old movie. The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. Remember the guy that was getting fouled and they needed him to go to the free throw line to win the game? Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys remember that movie.
That's the one. Is that the one with Dr. J? That's the one with Dr. J and Jonathan Winters, right? Because there's another one, Fast Break, with Gabe Kaplan, that was similar.
Yep. Have a great day, guys.
Adrian, thank you so much for that. Quickly, Charles is in Maine. Charles, the greatest hustle player of all time was who?
Well, he's not the greatest player, and I'll acknowledge that up front, but I think you should give a little bit more glory to people like Matthew Slater, who are special teams players. How many other special teams players have people heard of?
Well, how about Maggie's guy, Steve Tasker?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's fair. I didn't hear that.
That's a two guy. It's Slater and Tasker, the only two that we've ever heard of.
Well, but Slater was a Pro Bowl player multiple times, and I'm not even a Patriots fan, although I live in Maine. But Matthew Slater, everyone's heard of. Tasker, you're right. He got me beat there.
But
got me beat with.
Charles, just so you know, a lot of us brought up Matthew Slater.
We did. That was last night.
okay.
We were talking about it. So it's a great selection. We appreciate you making the phone call. The greatest hustle player of all time. You guys, you were like, you should go with Steve Tasker. But like, I'm going to go with Pete Rose because this was inspired by Pete Rose and he is the right answer. Bogish, and I wanted to win the poll.
By the way, 10-time Pro Bowler Matthew Slater. Isn't that crazy? 10 Pro Bowls, 5 first-team All-Pros. He'll be a finalist for the Hall of Fame. I don't think he makes it. But a wide receiver who never played wide receiver. It's an incredible story. Yeah.
We also talked about him with greatest father-sons, right? Didn't Matthew Slater come up in
Jackie Slater? Yeah.
Another great debate. Bogish has headlines for us on this very busy morning. Hello.
It's the other question of the morning. Who the hell does Texas State think it is? The Bobcats have only been playing FBS football since 2012. They only made their first bowl game last season, and they have the audacity to say no thanks to the Mountain West. Texas State announcing yesterday it'll stay in the Sun Belt after receiving that upgrade invite from the MWC. But
wait, where is Texas State, by the way?
Texas. But Gonzaga
It says right in the title, bro.
But Gonzaga's on the move. EJ's favorite college basketball program is moving to the Pac-12 in July 2026.
Let's go.
Now, some would say Fernando Tatis Jr. and Michael King are to the Padres what the prostate and urethra are to the male reproductive system. Tatis Jr. with a 2-run first inning home run, while King blanked the Braves over 7, striking out 12. Their Padres a 4-0 roll in the sheets to start their wild card round. Braves manager Brian Snitker happy King is in their past.
We didn't score because he did a great job. He did a great. We had some opportunities and made pitches when he had to, and it's just it was a lot to do with him and instead of us.
King is the first pitcher ever to strike out 12 without allowing a run or a walk in his first career postseason start.
Do we have to explain this to people? We might.
You asked for this, Maggie. You're like bogus. Give me some prostate jokes. Here we go.
To blame me when Perloff is the one who looked at me during the first break and said, "Do women have prostates?" Blame Perloff.
Well, you set the over-under on prostate jokes last hour, so I had to accept that challenge.
It's just because I know you, and I figured you would probably put it in the next break. Yeah.
That was a joke?
No, he's really the prostate and urethra of the Padres.
Can I go, please?
I mean, it's just like...
It's SAT prep.
Everyone calls him that.
But jokes are funny, though. That's what I didn't understand.
It was a little on the nose.
It just felt like, I don't know, Bogus. I've seen you do better work.
All right. You make a prostate joke. Learn what it is, who's got it, and then you make a joke.
Challenge accepted.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to not sound childish when you're making a prostate joke, but please proceed with the baseball highlights.
I did find out, though, in my research this morning that while Maggie does not technically have a prostate, she does have prostate-like glands that are called Skene's glands.
Paul Skeens?
Yeah. That's what he did before baseball.
I love that you say that I don't technically have one. You're gonna confuse people. I don't have a prostate.
Ladies don't have prostates, but they have other things not called prostate that may have a similar-ish role in your body as to ours.
Can I just say one thing? Okay, so I was an idiot. I didn't know much about the prostate. But this the way you guys, sometimes you guys do this. I'm looking at you, Andrew Bogus. I'm looking at you, Maggie Gray, where you act like, oh, you're such an idiot for not knowing that. Acting as if you spent 8 years in medical school. Do you have any idea what's going on? Well, sometimes you guys come off a little bit condescending over little things when you have no idea
if
what
I
the
asked
function
you
of
how
most of
your
the organs
uterus was feeling today, you should make fun of me.
Yes, but the uterus is obvious. Everyone knows
So
what
is
the
a
uterus.
prostate.
You have one. You don't have the slightest idea walking in this morning what a prostate does.
That's not the point. I know that Maggie doesn't have. All women don't have one. It's why when they do it during baseball season, the fundraising weekend, they talk about dads and the bats are blue and the gloves are blue because it's for men. It's a men's disease.
Says you.
Says everyone.
Says science. Well,
but my favorite
also-
is too when you guys come in like that, all condescending, and then once out of every 5 or 10 times you're wrong, and then I just remember that moment.
Name one.
Oh my God, I will start taking a list.
Can't wait for that list. Top 3 things Perloff was actually right about that everyone else was wrong about. That video's coming up soon.
Do you realize when one person out of the whole group has gone to an Ivy League school, then anytime we get one over on you, we've got to celebrate it. Now, what you did get me with, I said, do women have prostates? Ha, ha, ha. No, of course we don't. What does the prostate do? And I was like, you got me on that. Had to look it up a little bit. I had an idea, but I just wanted to make 100% sure. Now we know.
Really? You had an idea? I had no idea.
Well, just with the location, I had an idea.
Honestly.
I didn't think it regulated your heartbeat, put it that way.
I would have thought, because when you have prostate issues, you have to go to the bathroom all the time. I thought it was something like that, and it's not. It's something completely different.
Well, I think because it
presses down
can
on
enlarge,
the,
it's enlarged up against your bladder, which makes you have to pee.
This whole bit is, I think we're doing a community service here by talking about prostate because everyone should get it checked.
This is the sign. If you were thinking about it, this is the sign. Us talking about this today to you in the car right now is your sign to go to the doctor.
If you woke up 3 times last night to go to the bathroom, get your prostate checked.
Yeah, take that, Joe Torre. You know, Joe Torre often speaks on the importance of having prostate checks.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I'm the unfunny one in the room.
I didn't want to touch that one.
I'm backing away.
Because Joe Torre had it. Oh, God, that was insensitive. Anyway, but he's I always see his commercials. He would like this, too. He wants people talking about prostate cancer.
That is true. I mean,
he's big. I would say he's a number 1 advocate. Anyway, back to you, Nico.
And you clearly got his message.
I did.
I was like, what is Joe Torre
I'm in the
about?
doctor's office, and
Should
like
my
I'm
mom
like,
look into this?
No, I always think about Joe Torre. I mean, the ads are working.
They are.
Moon River.
Someone got some Jeopardy music or some elevator music.
And again, the great debate today is the greatest hustle player of all time. It has nothing to do with this. Go ahead. Is there more?
Yeah, the Mets beat the Brewers 8-4. Something happened there. The Karl Anthony Towns trade to the Knicks is almost finally maybe done. New York and Minnesota have recruited the Hornets to take on some contracts to make all this money work. Charlotte gets 3 second-round picks for its help. And Sabrina Ionescu with 24 points to lead the Liberty past the Aces in their Game 2, 88-84. The best-of-5 semifinal resumes in Vegas on Friday night. No team in WNBA history has rallied from an 0-2 hole, so it's good that the Lynx beat the Suns 77-70 for a split in Minnesota. Back to you, Maggie.
Thank you, Bogish. That all went great.
One way to put it.
Our great debate question today is, who is the greatest hustle player of all time? Sam's in Erie, Pennsylvania. Sam, who do you have?
The greatest hustle player of all time is your boy Don Beebe. I mean, he
Isn't
goes
he?
down in history with the greatest hustle play of all time.
Don Beebe is a fantastic nominee for this award, without a doubt. He actually got in the chat a little bit, too. Beebe with an all-timer. It's funny. It's like Beebe, a little... I know LeBron would never win this, but the chase down block of Iguodala, like guys who have these incredible hustle plays. Obviously, the Leon Lett play with Don Beebe. But, Sam, it's a great one.
Thank you.
Appreciate you checking in. Yes.
Jeter's play in Oakland is on hustle play lists.
Jeter going into the stands, too, bloodying up his face against the Red Sox.
Yeah.
That was against the Red Sox. Yeah.
There are fans who think that was like phony.
Talk about the most overrated play of all
There you go.
time.
I know I'm sitting next to someone who thinks that.
I would say a large majority of people think that. And by the way, Nico, you're on about 90% of his homers went 300 feet to right field because that fence is right behind the second baseman.
Yeah, but Jeter was never he wasn't like known to being a home run hitter.
He is the most overrated player in sports history. There's no doubt about it.
Wait, which hustle play you say is I watched? Not the Oakland one.
No,
About going into the stands.
Yeah, going into the stands. That is,
His
he
face
took like
was bloody.
seven steps from the time he caught the ball to when he actually went into the stands. He could have totally stopped.
Yeah, he could not have stopped. I disagree with you guys on this one. Does Derek Jeter belong on this list, by the way?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think he had enough plays like that. Good player.
A lot.
Good player.
Played all the time.
Played the right way. I don't think it was a hustle player.
I do. I think of him as a hustle player. Timothy is in Michigan, has got an odd one for us. Timothy, explain yourself on this great debate.
Well, it's for those of us who live in an alternate reality. I say it's Don King. He has to be the greatest hustler of all time.
Now, this is a very Peapolati-esque way to take this thing. We said Minnesota Fats was the other one. Don King is a huckster. Huckster.
No, he's the greatest ticket salesman since Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah, he's up there. Timothy, thank you. Don King, Vince McMahon, these guys who are the entertainers and with unsavory backgrounds for sure.
I mean, the actual another definition of hustler, yeah, I could see Don King. I mean, this guy
running numbers back in the day in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, I mean, this guy was doing whatever it took to become what he became.
Yeah, he killed a man.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's public record. And him as a boxing promoter. Okay, got a lot more for you from the chat. Mario Ellie, greatest hustle players of all time. That was from Kevin, our pal in San Antonio. Ben Wallace, kind of in the Rodman vein. As EJ, that was his pick. Lenny Dykstra, a little bit like Pete Rose, my pick. Greg Jennings was another pick. 855-212-4227. Keep them coming. The greatest hustle player of all time. Coming up in the next hour, Jeff Francoeur is going to join us. We'll talk a little baseball playoffs. But coming up next, we have to get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's going on with the quarterback situation? We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
All right, ready? This is Andrew Perloff with a Sports Minute sponsored by
to work, that's not his style. He's out on a vacation, gonna take a while. He bet us steaks, but we'll never get our share, cause Belotti's at home in his favorite chair. Where's the meat? Pete, we're all starving here. Promised us some ribeyes, but you always disappear. Steaks on the line, but you're off the grid. Belotti's MIA, man, he always hit. Packers won, but we won't win this fight. Belotti's steaks, I'll never see the light.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Today, who is the greatest hustle athlete of all time? Obviously, this is a tribute to Pete Rose, who passed away this week at 83. You guys have had some incredible nominees for the greatest hustle player of all time. Let's go to Mike, who's in Seattle. We had not thought of this gentleman. Mike, how are you?
I'm great. Even though I live in Seattle, I'm not a Seahawks fan. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. I'm from Philly originally. But Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, man. That guy was a hustle. He was unreal.
I kind of like this. He's not the first person that comes to mind because I think of bowling over people.
Yeah. It's a different, a little bit, Mike, it's a different category.
No, I like it for this category. I think Mike's onto something. I think it's us who are off here. I think Marshawn Lynch is that hustle guy.
Well, Derrick Henry runs over people. Nobody calls him a hustle guy. Why is Marshawn different than the other bruising running backs?
I would say it was that one play. That one play was just unbelievable.
Which one? The one from this week or the stiff arm of Josh Norman?
No. He's talking about the Marshawn Lynch.
Sorry. For a second, I thought you were talking about Derrick Henry. Yeah, exactly. One of the greatest plays ever. See, the other thing I love about Marshawn Lynch, and everyone obviously will think about him with Seattle, and rightfully so. I think about him with Buffalo. He was an original draft pick of the Bills. They were terrible, and he played on a broken leg. That's crazy for a team that was going nowhere, had nothing to play for.
It's also a bit talented for the hustle. Like, was he a first-round pick? He was close, right?
Yeah. I just, the talented thing, though, is like that you can have talent and be a hustle player. It's just, did you get every ounce of it? Like, did you exceed all of your expectations or what have you because of how hard you played the game?
I think, though, that... First of all, I think when you talk about hustle players, you're implying that their hustle made up for a lack of talent. That's generally, it's like a, I want to. I think it's more like I want to introduce you to this woman. She has a great personality. No. I don't think when somebody's wildly talented, you note their hustle. I think it's the last thing you talk about. I'm being serious. Like if you're like, if I told you blindly, look at this draft. Oh, he's a great hustler. You immediately say, like either he's slow or a bad shot or something's wrong with him. No.
No, because I don't see it as a negative. I don't see it as if you described an athlete as a hustle player, I think that's a positive. And they can be very talented, just like a star could be a glue guy. You say glue guy, is that like saying she's got a good personality? Not that she's pretty? Right. But
1,000%.
But isn't Tom Brady a glue guy?
No.
I mean,
Tom Brady's a glue guy? No way. He's a GOAT.
I get it, but he can also galvanize a locker room.
No, he's a leader. He's not a glue guy. Totally different category. Hold on. Tom Brady a glue guy? Does anyone think he's a glue guy? He's too handsome to be a glue guy.
Doesn't mean anything.
I don't think of him as a glue guy.
He's a GOAT.
That's like saying Jordan's a glue guy.
That's okay. You mentioned LeBron James. Like, LeBron James can't be in this category. He's way too talented.
Well, the other part is LeBron's defense kind of went in and out a little bit. But he does have one of the most memorable LeBron plays of all time. His whole career, we're going to go through 25 years of LeBron James and what's going to be the memorable moment. The chase down block on Iguodala. And that's a hustle play.
Well, generally, like the great players, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, LeBron, they all don't play any defense and play the passing lanes and make these spectacular plays. Like, they're not hustlers.
Okay, what about Larry Bird?
Larry Bird was not, he conserved energy. Like, he was awesome, but I don't think of it. No, he's like the fifth best player of all time. There's nothing hustle about that.
Gary is in California. Gary, the greatest hustle player of all time was who?
Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, that's a good one. The stolen bases, obviously. How Ricky played.
No.
You don't get credit for stolen bases.
Ricky Henderson is the most wildly talented baseball player of all time, almost.
He was very aggressive, though.
Yeah, but that wasn't hustle. That was something different, I think. Like
Why not?
I don't know, because he's a diva, too. Because...
He played till he was 42, didn't he?
What's that?
Didn't he play till he was 42 years old?
Yeah.
He'd play now if he could. Ricky would play forever.
I just think he's like too spectacular to be a hustle player.
He ran the bases like Pete Rose. He's very aggressive. He would try to spike you, run you over when he's still throwing the bases. I like Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, Gary, I'm with you. Don't let Perloff get you down.
No, he did not run the bases like Pete Rose at all. Pete Rose was not super fast, but made up for that with incredible hustle and tenacity. Ricky Henderson was blazing fast.
Right, but you leaned into that one skill and had way other skills too, but leaned into that to the point where he wrote himself into the record books.
No,
that's not resting on your laurels. That's not just like, oh, you had speed and you never. I agree. I think Ricky Henderson is a hustle player.
When you think of Ricky Henderson, you think of the personality, you think of third person, you think of all-time leader and leadoff home runs. Hustle is not on that list. Sorry.
Kevin is in Vancouver. This is going to go to our question, can one of the greatest players ever also be a hustle player? Kevin, who's your selection?
Willie Mays. He was just a vacuum in the outfield, and he was aggressive on the base paths.
Yeah, Kevin, see, I'm going to agree with you because I think an all-time great player can also be considered a hustle player. Now, my selection was Pete Rose, who obviously won an MVP, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff. So I'm with Kevin on this one. I know, Perloff, you picked Rudy Rudiger. Yeah. So you clearly have a different definition of what it means to be a great hustle player.
Can't put goats on this list. Here's a New York Post headline. Ricky Henderson doesn't do hustle. Henderson's me-first attitude, all too typical. Yeah, like he would take plays off like he was a diva.
Okay, but I think you're also thinking about the off-the-field personality, right?
No, on the field, I think he came and went. Like he was... I just think there were all sorts of categories, and diva is the opposite of a hustle guy. I mean, Henderson was fantastic, but...
Our pal Big Dave in Kentucky. Dave, I thought you'd go with a Cowboy here, but you got someone else.
Yeah, what about George Brett, the poor man's Pete Rose?
That's a good one. George Brett definitely belongs.
George Brett? Why George Brett?
He was so hard-nosed, man. I mean, head first. He was a lot like Pete Rose. But listen, his hustle from the dugout to home plate on the over the Pine Tar home run against the Yankees was enough to put this category alone.
You know what, Dave? It's a great selection. Great hearing from you. Thanks so much.
George Brett had the sweetest swing. Oh, work of art.
855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. You want to keep them coming. The greatest hustle players of all time as a tribute. Send up to the late Pete Rose. Okay, lots more to do. Davante Adams wants a trade. The team wants to trade him. So where should he go? Who can he help? Do that next.
Ricky Henderson. Oh, my God.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Hey, you in the market for a wide receiver? Might have one for you. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. That'd be Davante Adams, who looks like he's heading towards a split between himself and the Raiders. Kind of felt like a little drip, 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 Perloff, and now the bathtub is full on this one. And to his credit, though, it was never Adams who was really the person out there asking for a trade. He was still playing hard. He was still doing all the things you want a teammate to do up until very recently when his head coach literally this week liked an Instagram post that questioned whether or not he had played his last snap as a Raider. And now reportedly Davante Adams is asking for a trade and the Raiders are into it.
You're saying Davante Adams never sent out any signals, public signals, that he was dissatisfied? He did say that. Well, there was a documentary where he let it out there that he thought the quarterback was getting him killed. Right. Also, too, he was doing some things on the sidelines this year. I'm not sure he was under the radar with his displeasure with the franchise. So you say give him credit for not saying anything. Like, he's sort of been hinting at this. I'm sure he's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Okay, well, here's where I'm giving him credit for, and I'm not blaming him at all for this divorce, impending divorce. Why I'm not. He came to the Raiders for a few reasons, but number one, that he wanted to play with Derek Carr, right? That was his former college teammate. He ends up playing for a coach that's an absolute disaster in Josh McDaniels, and that's the offensive guy. So this was terrible. He needed to be fired. They end up with a quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, who he says is going to get him killed, right? And Aiden O'Connell as the backup, so he's not all of a sudden not playing with his friend, and the reason why he came, and the other two quarterbacks stink, or Jimmy was just done at that point. And he still endorsed Antonio Pierce to take the interim tag off and be the head coach. And he was the one who said, I'm not trying to jump from team to team to team. I'm not out here trying to put my business out there like that. Whatever was going on behind the scenes, I don't know. But publicly, I thought he was saying the right things. Now, he was on this show called Wide Receiver. It was on Netflix. And that's where we knew he was like getting hurt and he felt like he was going to die out there. That's all the stuff he said. He's not Omaha Productions. He's not Peyton Manning. He doesn't have final cut and final say over this. He said things the way...
come on. He knew the camera was right in front of him.
Okay, but he doesn't know what they're going to use, right?
Well, he said this stuff knowing that they very well could use it.
It also could have just been the truth.
Yeah, it definitely was the truth. I mean, first of all, right, you don't even need all the drama. Common sense is he's a 31-year-old receiver on a losing team who wants to get in the Hall of Fame. Of course he wants to get off this team. This team needs to rebuild. The timeline is off between him and the team.
Okay, but who actually did the action that caused us to get to where we are today? And that's his head coach, Antonio Pierce. That was liking the Instagram
that's where you and I
post.
disagree. No. Davante Adams, first of all, you could say the documentary was the action. You could say, come on, you really think this, like, that was just, maybe that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. But you can't say this is Antonio Pierce's fault.
I mean, I think it is, unless Antonio Pierce wanted to push this action, unless the organization wanted to push Davante Adams to ask for a trade, so the team doesn't look like the bad guy, and they get something for Adams because this is basically the last year of any guaranteed money for him. Now, what they should have done is trade him in the offseason when you really would have had 31 other teams in the mix, and you probably could have gotten more draft compensation, but they didn't do that. So now here we are. And you think that there's an obvious answer of where he should go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the list out there on the internet, one team is on all of them, and that's the New York Jets to reunite with Aaron Rodgers. I think it makes a lot of sense because he knows the offense from Green Bay, specifically exactly how Nathaniel Hackett calls it. He knows the route trees. This is a team that desperately needs offensive help. I think Rodgers is not totally comfortable with Garrett Wilson. That's very clear. Garrett Wilson's tremendous, but for whatever reason, the chemistry's not there yet. So I think Davante Adams helps everybody there. And let's face it, the Jets are 2-2. There's a little bit of desperation right now. They have to go as all in as they can. What do they care if they could do a third-round pick? People are talking about Hassan Reddick in the trade too, which Hassan Reddick has not reported, the defensive end. I'm not sure the Raiders need Hassan Reddick headache either, but it just makes so much sense for the Jets to be aggressive here.
It does. All the reasons you say make a lot of sense, but I think there's another team out there that may overpay, just like the Jets may overpay for Davante Adams, and that's the New Orleans Saints. We talked about why did he leave Green Bay? Why leave Aaron Rodgers in the first place? Only for a very special relationship, and that's with Derek Carr, his former college teammate. They never got a chance to really get it going, right? Because the team, the Raiders, gave up on Derek Carr, and now he's with New Orleans. And by the way, now New Orleans is off to this really cool and maybe unexpected start.
They're 2-2.
Nobody knew if they were even going to sniff the playoffs. This is at least fun.
They've been around 500 for about 11 years.
I thought their coach was on the hot seat, so just like Robert Saleh, I know. So there's a lot.
And by the way, they're 2-2 probably because he made some mistakes.
You're just talking about desperate teams.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I'm giving you one in the Saints. It's a very similar situation to the Jets. Everyone's getting fired there, by the way, most likely, if they don't make the playoffs.
I think the strength of your argument is the Derek Carr relationship.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure the Saints need him necessarily. I love Olave. He's fantastic if he can get healthy.
Yeah.
He played really well last week. And Rashid Shaheed was a breakout star early in the season. So I'm just not totally sure that's the team that needs him most. There are other teams that need receivers. Your Bills need a receiver, probably. The Chiefs desperately need a receiver. They might not trade in division. The Chargers need a receiver. My Eagles I guarantee they're calling them.
I mean, how much more if you're the Eagles are you going to invest in the wide receiver? You're paying A.J. Brown. You're paying Devontae Smith.
Those guys aren't on the field.
I get it, but it's just a salary cap allocation, even if it's just for this year.
They just traded for Jahan Dotson. Don't remember that, too.
He makes
nothing.
Don't
forget. But he was a former first-round. They gave him a third-round pick for him. So you're right. But I think they keep on investing. Dallas needs him. Washington could use a receiver. You go around the league. The Rams have serious. If the Rams want to try and make the playoffs, they desperately need some receiver help. You go around let's see. The EJ mentioned the Jags. There's so many teams who can use Davante Adams. I don't buy the Ravens actually. If I'm the Ravens, I run down everyone's throat. The Steelers.
And we haven't even mentioned the Cowboys. Again, this is why all 31 teams, I think, are huddling today. If they haven't already been calling behind the scenes. Today's the day where you get serious about it. All right, what are we doing? What's our plan? Does this make sense? Because it'd just be a one-year rental. See, the one-year rental thing, that means I want to get this done right now. And I understand why this is the time because you have about a month before the trade deadline. Nico reminded me that the NFL trade deadline and Election Day are the same day. So circle your calendars for that one.
One thing is,
what do you think is going to cause more fireworks?
He gets cheaper as the season goes along. So you might wait on that one. That's why I think he's got to go to a system that he knows. So he got it. And you say that the Clint Kubiak system is the same. But I mean, I literally think it'd be better if he played for a coach who's coached him. And there are a bunch around the NFL. A lot of Packers guys floating around.
855-212-4227. If you want to weigh in on Davante Adams, both from the Raider side of this, about how this go wrong, who do you blame? Why is Antonio Pierce out here liking Instagram posts like this anyway?
Why is he liking any Instagram post? Why is he scrolling along Instagram? He's a coach.
Nothing good ever happens when anyone's on social media. Can we just maybe make that clear? And then secondly, where do you want Davante Adams to go? And if it's your team, why your team? 855-212-4227. We also have the great debate going on today. We do this every Wednesday, something kind of loosely based on the news. And today's great debate is who is the greatest hustle athlete of all time? Obviously, as they send up to Pete Rose, who passed away this week, Charlie Hustle himself. Who is the greatest hustle athlete of all time? KJ is in Milwaukee, has one for us. Good morning, KJ.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Listen, I'm going to, I have a two-prong answer, and I have a little bit of a pushback on your colleague's response to the hustle question.
Okay.
I think, he said that, the guys that have the talent, they're not necessarily supposed to be in that category.
Right. If you can you be an all-time great player and also be a hustle player is what we asked.
Yeah, absolutely, because there have been a lot of great players with a lot of talent that did not go the extra mile, if you will, to perform on the field and be the hustle guy. My guy would be Lawrence Taylor. That guy was unbelievable. Every play. I mean, he came out of nowhere on some of those plays that he made on the field. And the other part that I have is for Davante Adams. I think the obvious answer would be the Jets.
Yeah.
Because of his prior relationship with Rodgers. But I would say the Kansas City Chiefs would probably be right there at the top.
I know, but KJ, I don't think the Raiders are going to trade with the Chiefs. I know there's some teams that trade within the division, and thank you so much for the phone call. I think there's legit rivalry stuff there, and I don't think, even if Kansas City was offering like a third, maybe a second, but I still don't think so.
You could make an argument that it weakens the Chiefs a little bit to give up if the Chiefs really give up a second-round pick, I think the Raiders would consider it, because you'd say, oh, okay, this is a one-year deal. Davante's not going to be there. It weakens the Chiefs in the future to do this deal.
Yeah, but it's a second-round pick that's going to be more like a third-round pick because the Chiefs are so good. So it's going to be the very end of the second round.
Probably, but they know that Davante in Kansas City is not going to be a long-term thing because Davante's money goes off the books after this year. You could at least make an argument. Because teams that Eagles and the Cowboys traded, like a lot of teams are young GMs. I've seen people say do not care about that at all.
Well, who's got the young GM? Tom Telesco Tom Telesco and Brett Veach? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, I saw something about it. It was Ryan Poles could care less what division you're in when he makes a trade. I remember the Eagles traded my guy Donovan McNabb to Washington. I thought that was weird, but it worked out great.
Well, if the Raiders he was at the end.
Yeah, but if the Raiders think they can get one over on here, maybe it's a good idea.
I don't see that. Mike is in Syracuse. Mike, who is the greatest hustle athlete of all time?
Well, for me, I got to go with the stick and puck guys. Undrafted, undersized. Finally gets a chance, gets a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Current head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, Hall of Famer Marty St. Louis.
Yeah, you're right. Where'd he go? UVM or something? Like he was, what he got out of his career, Mike, unreal. Thank you for that. And, we didn't talk about the second part of this, which do hustle guys make great coaches and great managers?
It's an interesting question. Probably. That grit. But if you're going to do hockey, I would think you want to do like a goon or a tough guy or somebody who was out there who had no talent whatsoever, but just went for it. That's to me like...
You can't say no talent whatsoever. I mean, they make it to the NHL, you're going to have some talent.
Oh.
I think Martin St. Louis is a great option.
I would go with one of the tough guys who just was out there to bruise people. Just had, it's just all heart, all grit.
Oh, like a Ty Domi? That's a different category. That's goons.
For some reason, Marty McSorley was in my head.
Okay.
And by the way,
Brian Leach.
Yeah, I would assume Marty McSorley hustled as well. I mean, he's an all-time great.
Chris is in California. Chris, the greatest hustle player of all time, in your opinion, is who?
Hey, guys, thanks for the call. I'm surprised the Philly fan wouldn't bring him up, but I would say Hunter Pence. The guy didn't sprint out a ground ball. Sprinted onto the field every time. He was the definition of hustle.
Yeah.
At least the way you're taught as a kid.
All right, I'll just push back. He was a phenom, too, though. He was a generational player. So I don't know. I'm not sure. He might be too talented in my mind. Although you're right. He was definitely like that.
Yeah.
I see. Sure. This is where Perloff and I are always going to disagree. I don't think it's possible to be too talented to be a hustle player. Chris, thank you so much for the call. I don't think that's possible. I think your greatest players can also be your hustle players. It's like a rectangle can also be a square type thing. Sorry, square can also be a rectangle.
There's definitely a line. And I feel like when you talked about Brady and LeBron, I felt like that was the line. I don't feel like Hunter Pence is
not the line.
Because we're saying, Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle, he's an MVP. He was a great player. I don't want to, kind of lessen how great a player he was and the talent he had. So, I think there's some line there where it goes. I don't think that Brady and LeBron meet that, but I think Hunter Pence would. I don't know.
I think Hunter Pence is a great option. I think I get what the other caller was talking about with Lawrence Taylor. Now that his motor, his motor was
that I don't agree with at all.
Coming from
Lawrence
a lot
Taylor,
of different places.
I mean, when you think of Lawrence Taylor, he's also in the, how can you be in the hustle category and the wasted talent category? He definitely threw away a lot of the latter part of his career.
Right, but I mean, okay, yes, because of the drugs, you can say that.
He's just wildly talented. I mean, he was him coming off the edge was like a hurricane. That wasn't like hustle. He was just so fast for a man his size. It was incredible.
Mike is in California, wants to talk about Davante Adams. We're doing two things here today. One, the greatest hustle player of all time. And two, where should Davante Adams go if he and the Raiders are headed for a divorce? Good morning, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Mike, I'm surprised you wouldn't go with one of your Saints for this.
No, you know what? Because the problem with the Saints is the same reason why I don't think he should go to the Jets.
What's that?
The Saints and the Jets' problems right now is offensive line. So if you're not fixing the offensive line and you're not curing that problem, putting another weapon on the field doesn't give them more time in the pocket, doesn't give them more time to scramble out of it, doesn't fix the issue that they're both having. So I think he should go to – I kind of agree with Perloff. I think he should go to either the Bills or he should go to the Rams. Because they're both in a position to move now. They both have good offensive lines. They both have a potential for a run game. They're missing that vertical threat. They're missing the downfield aspect of the game.
But is it too late for the Rams? Mike, is it too late for the Rams already? Like, is this a lost season?
I don't think so because, I mean, we're not thinking it's a lost season for Cincinnati yet. So I don't see how you would say that because, I mean, honestly, if they had those weapons, would they have had the losses that they've already racked up?
Right.
I don't think they would have. And as far as you guys' greatest hustle, I don't know if it's been said yet, but I know you're coming from, Perloff, but I think the question has to be in place. Would they have been as great as they were, that talent been as executed as well as it was, if it wasn't for what they also did off the field? And so I don't know if it's been said yet, but Jerry Rice, his off-season workout regimen and everything he would do off-season, I think prolonged his career, kind of like Tom Brady, prolonged their career for an extra 4, 5, maybe 6 years that allowed them to set all the records that they set that they may not have been able to do if they hadn't put so much into it off the field.
Yeah, but I'm not putting Jerry Rice on a hustle list. I'm putting him on the coolest, awesomest athletes of all time. I don't know.
He can be on both. He was unheralded.
Jerry Rice is not a hustle guy, though. Like, he is a smooth operator.
Hold on. You listen to athletes that would go work out with Jerry Rice in the offseason, brand new young kids. They're like, nope, can't do it. I can't keep up with him.
I know all that, but it just doesn't feel right for me. I feel like, yeah, he might be a great hustler, but like when you think of Jerry Rice, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Goat.
Just immaculate talent. I mean, yeah.
Mike, thank you so much. We'll have to get the recipes another time. Mike's amazing chef who always brings some really cool barbecue and other menu options. But we have to take a quick break because Jeff Francoeur is going to join us next to talk a little MLB playoffs. We'll do that. It's Maggie and Perloff, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
MLB playoffs in full swing. It's been exciting, especially around here. Got a lot of Mets fans, got a lot of Phillies fans, got a lot of everything. Yankee fans, the whole deal. Let's get into what we've seen so far with someone who's got quite a bit of postseason experience and experience in general. That's Jeff Francoeur. 12 years in the majors, won a Gold Glove, now an analyst for TBS. Also joining us on behalf of Pure Athlete, which is a cool platform and podcast for parents and coaches and the next generation of athletes to navigate this culture of youth sports, which we're really into around here. Jeff, thanks so much for the time today.
Thank y'all for having me. I love this time of year. You got playoff baseball, you got college football in full swing in the NFL. October's the best.
No doubt.
Jeff, you're wearing a hat with a big P on it. And could be Pirates, could be Phillies, could be Pure Athlete. What does that P stand for?
It's funny. It's Puma Golf, man. My little guy loves Ricky Fowler. So we rock the Ricky Fowler's Puma Golf.
Oh, I should have known that. Okay.
Well, I was just
I will tell you this though, all the Pirates fans, whenever I do see someone, they're like, is that for the Pirates? I'm like, sorry guys, no.
If you're watching us, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network, and on X at Maggie Gray, at Maggie and Pearl. If you want to see Jeff Francoeur's cool Puma golf hat, the Pure Athlete stuff. Before we get into the baseball, we're having this discussion today. Every Wednesday, we do something called The Great Debate. And today, in honor of Pete Rose, and obviously he passed away earlier this week, we're asking, who's the greatest hustle athlete of all time? Now, you yourself were a hustle athlete, Jeff, and you played with with and against tons of guys we would consider hustle guys. Who, in your opinion, is the great hustle athlete?
I mean, look, Pete Rose, when you look at what he did, incredible. But a guy that I played with that I tell people all the time, Alex Gordon with the Kansas City Royals. If you remember, had a great career there. I mean, this guy was dirty every single game. He sweated profusely, man. We used to he would wear the same hat all year. And you can imagine playing some of those hot games. We actually gave him his own case on the plane because guys were sick of their hats smelling like his. So we put his hat in its own case. But I used to always say, man, he played the game the right way, went all the time. And for me in football, man, I loved just because I'm a football guy too. Bo Jackson, just watching him run the ball every time. Like he ran the ball every single time. Like that was the last carry he was ever going to have.
Jeff, I argue that you can't be too talented and be a hustle guy. So say there was a guy who came on your team who was a first-round pick. Don't you think of that guy as the talent guy and not the hustle guy? Were there some guys who just had both?
You know what? It's funny, there are, but I give examples of like Chase Utley. Think about him, man. He was like a superstar in Philly. He's the only guy I ever saw that ran hard to first base every time. Like, I would even ask him sometimes, like just on a ground ball to the pitcher, you busted down there. And he'd always say, my dad told me, you can always hustle, you can always run no matter how bad you're doing. And so, Chase Utley's a perfect example of that, though. He's a talent guy, but he also played hard.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Alex Gordon. We let it slide. Now you mentioned Chase Utley. Got a lot of Mets fans here, Jeff. We might just have to end the interview. Who's next? Chipper? No, Jeff Francoeur joining us. You can watch him on TBS. And obviously you played for the Mets, too. You can watch it on TBS. Also, Pure Athlete, which we'll get into in a second, which is great for all the sports parents out there and athletes. And we'll talk about that because we know we have a lot of those people in our audience. Let's talk about the playoffs for a second. Perloff is all worried because his Philadelphia Phillies are just sitting around right now and watching. How do you keep yourself ready? How do you stay ready when you're in this rhythm of playing every day and now all of a sudden it stops while you wait to see who your opponent's going to be?
So funny. We did the Phillies on TBS 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we were talking to Rob Thompson, and he said, that's my one worry. He's like, I've talked to Brian Snitker with the Braves for 2 years. I've talked to Dave Roberts for 2 years, and there's no easy way to do it. I will just go ahead and tell you that when hitters don't hit for 5-6 days, it is difficult. It is not easy to necessarily get your timing back 100%. But with that being said, I do know this: when you have Zach Wheeler throwing game one, I feel very confident that you're going to be just fine. Look, you know what? I think the Mets and Phillies would actually be an incredible series. The Mets are playing with a lot of confidence right now. For a lot of the Mets fans that are on here, I tell people all the time, if Stevie Cohen will let David Stearns run this team and let him do his thing, this is a team that's set to be good for a long, long time. I actually love it. I played for obviously the Braves the longest, but between being a Philly to being a Met, I think it is absolutely great for baseball and great for this division when all three teams are relevant and good, because, it makes it so much more compelling. In what world would you ever think that the Mets and Braves would pop champagne on the same day and actually shake hands out at the middle of the field? I never thought I would see that. I can tell you that.
But, Jeff, how do the Mets and the Braves have the energy celebrating on Monday and playing on Tuesday? I know we're talking about you don't want to sit around as a hitter, but I have no idea how the Mets came out with energy, but they did on Tuesday.
Let me tell you, this is what I tell people this is what I'm removed now for 6 years, but this is what baseball players do. They're used to getting in somewhere at 1, 2 in the morning, getting 8 hours of sleep, maybe hungover, let's be honest, for some of them. And you get the ability to get up and you play that night. That's just what baseball players do. And so that does not surprise me that the Mets took that momentum and went straight in there the next night. For the Braves guys, first of all, Michael King was incredible last night. He was absolutely filthy, but they're running on fumes from an offensive standpoint. They've lost so many guys. So I think, look, for them to get in the playoffs was incredible, but the Mets, to me, have the lineup and the talent to make a run at this thing. And it'll be interesting to see what happens today.
Do you think the Braves hangover was an emotional one, too? Because they lost that first game. They come back and win the second one, but you could see everyone was kind of rattled a little bit. It was such a crazy game, the first one of the doubleheader, and then they were the only road team that didn't win yesterday, Jeff.
I think they've been through so much. just this whole year. I mean, it's like every other week they're just waiting for the next person to go down, right? Everybody was, hey, if they can beat New York one of those games and go to San Diego, they have it set up with Chris Sale, Max Fried. Then, of course, Chris Sale doesn't pitch. And it's just been a domino effect. And I think at some point it takes its toll. And I think Max Fried will throw a good game tonight out there. I really do. My question is, can they score any runs to flip the scoreboard on the other side? So, look, it's intriguing this year. I said the Phillies were the best team I saw throughout the year. Now, I will tell you the last 2-3 months, some of their pitching faded a little bit. But it'll be interesting. It's up for grabs. Detroit Tigers, I sit here and laugh. I'm going to be on with Brian Anderson on the Cleveland call. And, a lot of people to me were, obviously you'll be doing Cleveland, Houston. I watch this Tigers team, man, and they are young, they are talented, and they got the right guy in A.J. Hinch at the helm.
Yeah, Jeff, I was about to ask. I want to jump on that Tigers bandwagon. This seems like the story of the postseason, up 1-0 now in the Astros. Can they do this thing? I mean, are they going to be a dangerous team moving forward?
What's funny is one of my best friends is Chris Getz, who is the GM of the White Sox. Long year for him, I know. But he's from Michigan, from Detroit. And I've been joking with him. I'm like, dude, Detroit's on the rise, man. Last year, y'all got Michigan to win the national championship. The Lions are incredible right now. I was like, good for the city of Detroit, right? But look, they're playing great. They got a lot of young guys no one knows, but they're playing hard. You saw the arms come out of the bullpen yesterday, and obviously Skubal's going to be the Cy Young in the American League. So, you know what? Right now, I'll tell you what, Baltimore and Houston better be careful today. If not, they could be sent home.
We will not talk about the Pistons. Jeff Francoeur is joining us. He's going to be, he is
no, we don't need to talk about that.
Not all of it. You're right, though. Michigan's having a moment. Analyst for TBS, of course. Pure Athlete is the company. It's a podcast platform. It's a resource, really, for parents, for athletes, anyone involved in youth sports to navigate what can be some really tricky waters. And we'll get to that in a moment because Perloff and I both parents here, Jeff, and we've got questions for you about being a sports parent. We've talked a lot about the grittier teams and maybe teams where we weren't maybe expecting. The Yankees and the Dodgers, two teams we're definitely expecting, have major expectations on them this year. As far as Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani, what do you think the mindset is for both of these guys who have basically two guys who become the faces of baseball?
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, it's crazy to think how good Ohtani is, and this is going to be his first postseason game on Saturday out in L.A., and I'm excited to see him on the big stage. I think he's going to be incredible. What he's done for baseball, I mean, they're truly, you hear guys say it, there's nobody like him. For them, though, the Dodgers, it's going to come down if they have any pitching. I mean, they're going to probably face a red-hot Padres team if the Padres beat the Braves, and I don't know, that pitching's going to be a problem. I will tell you this for the Yankees, though. They are going in, I think, in a good spot. I mean, they got a complete team. You got Juan Soto sitting there. You got Garrett Cole rested, ready. Heel. I mean, they got a solid ball club. And I think Weaver's really kind of solidified the back end of that bullpen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I definitely think the Yankees, even from a pitching standpoint, are in a better spot than the Dodgers.
Do you think that how the Yankees perform in the postseason is directly correlated to whether or not Juan Soto will re-sign with them? Or do you think they could win the World Series and he could walk away?
I don't think there's a chance in heck that they win the World Series and can let Juan Soto go. I mean, I just don't know how you do it. Probably one of the most complete hitters in baseball. And what he's meant to that club. I know it's going to be a lot of the money and it's going to cost a lot. But at the end of the day, guys, we've said it 100 times. You're the New York Yankees. I don't care. Go spend the money. You will make it up somewhere else.
Jeff Francoeur joining us, of course, 12 years in the majors, Gold Glove, played with a bunch of teams, including, obviously, the Atlanta Braves, did their games for a long time, now with TBS and with Pure Athlete. So it's a platform and a podcast that empowers parents, coaches, and the next generation of athletes to navigate the culture of youth sports. Jeff, you made it to the highest level. What's the biggest mistake that parents make when they are coaching or trying to support their children who are playing youth sports?
I think, guys, the first biggest thing people make is the lack of development at a young age. The ability to put winning at 8, 9, 10 years old over the development of a kid. David Pollack had one of the best quotes on our podcast. He said, until kids, a girl or guy goes through puberty, you really don't know what you're working with. Some go up 6 inches, and we can all tell stories, right, of the kids in 3rd, 4th grade that were the biggest, fastest. And by high school, they didn't even make the team, or they weren't significant on the team because they never grew. They never worked. And so we're just trying to give parents a better, I have 4 kids, 11, 8, 6, and 3, and I'm coaching them all. I'm having a blast doing it. And look, do we work hard? Yes. Do we try to win? Absolutely. But at the same time, I want them to continue to enjoy playing sports, continue to develop. And one funny thing is all the athletes we've had on, phenomenal female athletes, phenomenal male coaches, they all have agreed on one thing. Give me multi-sport athletes. Yep. Give me a multi-sport athlete because I know that they know what it means to work. They give their bodies rest. And I just see it from travel baseball. There's these kids that are 10, 11, 12 that are throwing 10 months out of the year. You cannot sustain that. I saw James Andrews, famous Dr. Andrews, last year at the playoffs, and he had started doing Tommy John and young as 12 years old. That is ridiculous.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Jeff, you were a multi-sport athlete, and I've read that you had scholarship offers for football. Do a sliding doors. What would have happened if Jeff Francoeur had pursued football instead of baseball?
I'd probably be walking with a gimp, and I wouldn't be enjoying the – look, I was committed to go to Clemson, and I was going to play football there. But, baseball was a great opportunity for me. But I played them both all the way through. And I'll never forget, I had travel coaches, even scouts, telling my dad my junior year, you should just do Jeff with baseball. He's going to be a first rounder. And my dad's like, my son's having the time of his life playing high school football with his best friends. Ain't no way I'm taking that away from him. And I tell my kids that. My daughter loves softball. You know what I told her this fall? We're doing something else. She's got into tennis now, and she's really having fun doing it. And I'm like, don't limit yourself to one sport. Play them all, see what you like, and continue to develop.
Well, I'd say you could try again for that football career, but Dabo doesn't use the portal, Jeff, so I'm not sure how that would work out. Kidding, of course. Jeff Francoeur, you can check out Pure Athlete.
He's actually joked with me, asking me to come back, and I know Dabo real well, and I said, I could hold extra points. That's about it.
They'll take it. Jeff Francoeur, of course, you can watch him on TBS. Pure Athlete, if you want some more information, they've had guests like Chipper Jones, Tony Dungy, Austin Eckler, Carly Lloyd, and so many more talking about their youth sports experiences at Pure Athlete Inc. on social media, and pureathleteinc.com is where you can find more information. Frenchie, thanks so much for the time. Have fun broadcasting these playoffs and enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to it.
Appreciate that. Jeff Francoeur. Check him out on TBS. Does a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, there was a different calculus with my kids. Jeff was a first-round pick in baseball and got a scholarship to Clemson. My kids are athletically inclined like me, so just making the team is a goal. But still, that is a good message. I totally agree. I hear these horror stories about young baseball players who are throwing their arms out. And it's almost like, is this really happening? And it sounds like it is.
Well, Dr. James Andrews doing a surgery on a kid who's 12 years old seems a little crazy. But at the same time, I feel for parents because you get into, especially let's talk about the travel baseball stuff. You get into that travel baseball lifestyle, and it's like, if your kid loves baseball, you want them to be able to play. Now you're traveling to tournaments. You're all over the country. Bogush is doing updates for us, obviously, every day. His kid's into travel. It's travel baseball. It takes over your life.
Not only that, the money is nuts. It's not just you're paying to play. And as you get better, it gets more expensive in baseball specifically, but soccer too. And then rich parents are hiring trainers. Right. There's so much money going into youth sports. And now you're like this. There's a big trend of private equity getting the youth sports companies because it's such a gigantic field. And you know what that means? That means they're going to push this thing even further. That means more specialization, more highly paid trainers. It's going to be tough on kids who I think Jeff would say this, just go out there and play, have fun. I don't know if that's a message they're getting.
Yeah. 855-212-4227. Also, we tend to do this about making everything about winning. We're very much like that, especially with pro sports. It's all about winning. And you hear Michael Jordan and you hear about LeBron. It's all about rings and ring culture. And we chastise, athletes. Like Charles Barkley, you're great, but you never won. Dan Marino, you were great, but you never won. It's like your career gets reduced to that. Francoeur's talking about development. It's really important. It is about winning, but like it's about getting better, having fun.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron used to be about winning.
Oh gosh.
Now he's about playing with his son.
Again, youth
Jordan
development.
was about winning. LeBron has got a lot going on.
Bronny they're doing youth development at the Laker level.
Jordan never went to L.A. to be a Hollywood producer.
No, he went to Birmingham, though, to play baseball. 855-212-4227.
Fair point.
Exactly the same. Okay, lots more to do, including there's been some predictions made on this show that I don't appreciate. I'm looking at you, and you. The demise, the doom of one person's team. We'll get to that next. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Lots to get to, including this portion of the show brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Give you a little update on the Davante Adams saga, Perloff, from our pal Diana Rossini. This is from just about 30 minutes ago. The Jets and the Cowboys are among the many teams monitoring the Davante Adams situation. Both have checked in with the Raiders. She's told that Vegas is in no rush to make a move until a team reaches their asking price, but Adams wants out ASAP. It looks like the asking price is going to be a second rounder. I don't think they're going to get that.
No, I don't think so either because of the money and the age. He turns 32 in December. Random thing about the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams are basically the same person. I wonder.
They could use 2 CDs.
Yeah, I think they could because Dak has no. If they can get him, that is a huge win. But I wonder, neither of them is quite a burner. I don't think it matters exactly. I mean, CeeDee Lamb could beat you long. I don't think Davante Adams can anymore. They seem even more desperate than the Jets because the Jets can win with defense. The Cowboys are not. With DeMarcus Lawrence out and Micah Parsons possibly out, they're not winning with defense.
I got to tell you, it would change the whole Cowboys season. It would change the whole vibe, everything about the all in, all out. You know, you pay Dak Prescott all this money, but what did you do in the offseason? You get Davante Adams. I think even your most, jaded Cowboy fan would have to be excited about that.
Well, but if there was any running back available, I mean, their running backs are not doing the job. If you could get a time machine and give me Derrick Henry there,
well,
maybe this is.
Gary said they couldn't afford him.
So is Davante Adams the makeup move?
Like a makeup call?
Yeah, I mean they couldn't afford $8 million for Derrick Henry, but they can afford $17 million for Davante Adams mid-season. That is a makeup call. That's a makeup franchise acquisition.
Bogish is here now. We just talked to Jeff Francoeur in the last segment, and he was talking about youth sports and making sure your kids play multiple sports. My kid's a little bit too young right now. Perloff's daughters are a little more into theater and music and.
Well, no. Well, I have one who just quit swimming and is going into volleyball. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Quit swimming?
Oh, yeah.
That's it? The pools are done?
Swimming is brutal. And thank God she did it. Swimming is the hardest youth sport there is. I mean, she had to go swim 60 miles a day, 5 days a week. It was insane.
Volleyball's loud, though. Get ready for that.
Yes, I know. We've already broken half the things in our apartment.
Oh no, the actual games in the gym, screaming and the whistles, it's a lot.
Oh, did you play? Did your daughter play volleyball?
No. I've covered some volleyball games, high school and college, and it's a lot for the senses.
That's so funny. So have you, Maggie. You've been a Big Ten volleyball.
Yeah, I mean, I've called some NCAA tournament games, but not any more than basketball. You found it was louder?
Yes. There's maybe because the game, it's when I'm in a high school gym or a college gym that's not Big Ten or whatever, it's not full, so the game itself is loud. And they're constantly yelling to each other in communication.
Yeah,
sneakers squeaking. There's a whistle all the time. Every point is cheered by the bench. Volleyball was very high energy for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What did you think about Francoeur saying? Because you're right in this right now. You're in the thick of the youth sports thing.
Yeah, and I think diversification is very important. You simply can't do the same thing, even if you love it, because eventually you're not going to love it.
But what about the idea? It's tough, though, because you play these youth baseball, travel baseball. It takes up so much time. How do you have time to do another sport?
Because you don't do it. You pick a time. Like right now is a time where a lot of people don't play travel baseball. They play football, soccer, something else just to take a break.
So, and your son doesn't play soccer? Is he the only kid under 14 in America not playing soccer right now?
I mean, he does not play organized soccer. No, he does not do that.
Can I tell you the biggest fraud in America is soccer lessons for kids who are like 4? I've paid for it.
That's daycare.
It's
Soccer stars? Yeah, no, I love that. It's
we
the
didn't even
cutest
get
thing
the
ever.
free T-shirt. I'm like, what did I pay for?
No, that's daycare. They just sort of...
Daycare that I'm at.
It's for pictures. It's for the gram. Little kids running around, tripping over the ball.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It's a rip.
Wait, are you sitting there saying like I don't like the way you're spacing the field, coach?
It's just like, yeah. I'm like,
He
you sure
still
you want to
can't
do a 3-3-2? I don't think so. Not with this lack of athleticism.
Poor Lucas.
Meanwhile, some 4-year-old just runs up the ball, tries to kick it, and trips over. You're like, Maggie's like, stinks.
No, my kid's dribbling the ball out into like the weeds, basically. I'm like, yeah, he's learning a lot here. Here's my $255. Anyway, Bogusch, what else is going on today?
In the last
anything for us?
2 postseasons, the Game 1 winner has won all 8 wild card series. Only once did they even get to a Game 3. So great news for the Tigers, Royals, Mets, and Padres. In Milwaukee, those Mets pressured the Brewer bullpen like an enlarged prostate pressures the bladder, scoring 5 times in the 5th, flipping that game in their favor. Mets sophomore third baseman Mark Vientos had the tie-breaking 2-run single.
I'm going to be honest with you. Walking into the clubhouse today, I was really nervous. Felt the nerves of the first playoff game. Honestly, I'm glad I got the first one out of the way and I did my thing and I helped the team win as much as I can.
Neither team did anything on offense after the top of the 5th, with Met pitchers retiring the last 15 batters they faced. The 8-4 final makes the Brewers the first team ever to lose 4 straight playoff games despite leading by 2+ runs in each. The Braves were behind almost immediately in San Diego. Luis Arraez singled. Fernando Tatis Jr. went deep to start the bottom of the first. And then Michael King K'd 12 Braves over 7 shutout innings, leading to a 4-0 win. All 4 series back on the field today, starting with Game 2 in Houston. The Tigers going for the sweep there at 2:30 Eastern. The Lynx beat the Sun 77-70 to level their WNBA semifinal at a game apiece, something the Aces could not do, losing at the Liberty 88-84. Sabrina Ionescu scoring 24. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you very much. Do you think Davante Adams gets traded before the end of the week, Pearl? It's escalating as he wants out ASAP.
I don't, because I think the Raiders, as you said in the Diana Rossini report, want that full second-round pick plus. So maybe a second and fourth, second and a player. I just don't see that happening because of age and money.
Okay, I get it, but what do you do now? You've got a game coming up in a couple days.
Yeah. If you're the Raiders, you sit him.
And you just keep going with this hamstring nonsense?
I guess
It appears
so.
to be nonsense?
I don't think you can put him out on the field anymore. Because
Well, this is going to get super awkward.
yeah, but this happened before.
Just keep him away from the team.
This happened in the NFL. I feel like there's a playbook for this kind of thing.
Here's another question. What if they keep winning? They just beat the Browns. No, I know. I know they're not a good team. And
You mean bring him back?
Well, is there a point where maybe he's like, all right, I'll play?
I don't think so.
You're at Denver, then Pittsburgh, at the Rams before you get to Kansas City. And then Cincinnati. That's going to be tough.
I don't see it happening. I mean, honestly, even if they're winning, I don't think they bring him back. I think this is done. And besides, if they're winning, I think their expectations are reasonable here. I think they're looking at the draft. I think they're watching these quarterbacks very, very closely right now. For some reason, I don't know why they didn't try and draft Michael Penix. I still don't understand that at all.
Remember, they
Unless they thought
Jake
he was-
Glazer said it was too rich, right? They would not do it.
Well, and I wonder if when they were planning everything, they sat at 13 in the draft and all the quarterbacks were gone. I think maybe they thought somebody was going to fall through. I haven't seen them officially comment and say, we definitely didn't want a quarterback.
If you want to go vote at Maggie and Pearl, who is the greatest hustle player of all time? That was our great debate today. Right now, Pete Rose winning. Dustin Pedroia coming in second, Bogusch. Rudy Rudiger. I'm sorry, it's Rodman coming in second.
What?
Pedroia's third. Pedroia's fourth. I can't read this
Check
chart.
your prostate.
Rudy is third. Thank you, DJ. Thanks, Nico. Andrew Bogusch, Andrew Kaplan, the Weedos, the Coffee Drinkers.